Mediocre Rumble Brothers. Three, two, one.
All right, how's it going, everyone? I'm Jordan, your host, and welcome to Mediocre Rumble Brothers. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe to our channel on YouTube or give us a follow on Rumble. It really helps us out. Now, let's jump into today's topic, our special overview on Mass Effect that will be handled by our one and only Udon. Take it away.
All right, hi, I'm Udon. We're gonna have our overview on Mass Effect, one of my favorite game series of all time. First one isn't necessarily my favorite game. I started with the second game and came back to the first one after the fact. But
Here.
I think we have one. What was that?
I was saying here, like me too.
Yeah, I think a lot of people weirdly had that experience because Mass Effect 2 came out and it was like blowing up everywhere, and then people were like, "What is this game?" and then finally checked it out. So Mass Effect, the original one, anyways, was released in November on November 20th in 2007. I'm old. And it was on for the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3 and PC, I believe. It was made by BioWare and published by Microsoft Game Studios, and then later it transitioned to EA after the fact, and then they handled the series from there, and they still hold the series. And then the latest release of it was the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, which was released on May 14th in 2021. And as far as the distribution of that here goes, I played the Legendary Edition because it has a lot of quality of life changes from the original that make the game a lot easier to play. Corey, you played the original. Edwin, you played the original, and
No, I played the Legendary Edition.
Okay, you played the Legendary Edition. Jordan, you definitely played the Legendary Edition, right?
Yes.
Okay, and I can speak for the original as well because I've played through that game more than enough times to be able to speak on that without having to play it. But the Legendary Edition is just factually better to play than the original. But as this is an overview, I'm not going to be super anal about going over every single little thing. We're going to cover basically the main storyline and the biggest draws of the game being like the story and the characters. And if anyone wants to talk about side quests as we're talking, you may do so. But basically, I'm just going to present broad topics and just open the gate for anyone to be able to speak instead of going one by one like we usually do. Just in case, I'm not going to force you to say something if someone already said it and you feel like they covered it well enough. But we'll go ahead and jump into it. So overall, Mass Effect is a third-person sci-fi action shooter with RPG elements. A lot more RPG elements in this first one than instead of as it goes down the line, because Mass Effect 2 and 3 kind of slowly stripped away a lot of RPG elements till it was just kind of bare bones when we got to 3. So we'll start with just the overall gameplay before we start jumping into story and characters. So as I said, it's a third-person shooter, and you have several different weapons. You have like a shotgun, assault rifle, pistol. You don't have the SMG yet; that comes later. And a sniper rifle. I think that was about it. Shotgun, assault rifle, pistol, sniper. Yep. And then you also have the game runs on a class-based system like other RPGs do, except Mass Effects is a little bit different because they run on their own like space magic rules, because we'll get into biotics and stuff like that as we talk about story and characters. But just know biotics, basically layman's terms, it's their version of like the Force from Star Wars, essentially. It's just space magic. But you get to choose to be like a soldier that specializes in weaponry, or like an adept that's like all about the biotics with very little weaponry, or an engineer, which they have tech powers, which is a little different from biotics in that they interact with more physical stuff of the world and lets you access more things like decrypting cases and stuff like that more. And while you play as a character, Shepard, you can customize Shepard's looks, you can customize their backstory, so they really are a custom character, but everyone refers to you as Shepard because that's always going to be your last name no matter what you do to your character, but that's just so the characters in the story can refer to you by something instead of just calling you nothing. Kind of similar how Persona calls you like Joker and stuff like that, so they have something to call you. So you make your character, third-person shooter. The gunplay's pretty decent in my opinion. It's a little wonky in the original. They've definitely upgraded it as in the Legendary Edition to make it feel a lot more weighty. But between the shooting, you can throw grenades, which are basically frisbees in this game. It's the weirdest grenade system I've ever seen in my life because you throw them, they fly in a straight line, and you decide when they go off. But aside from that, the power system is a bit different because it's a bit harder to aim in this game than it is in other Mass Effects. But you basically have to bring up a wheel and choose which power you want to use, and depending on your class, soldiers don't have a lot of active powers, while adepts and engineers will have a lot of active powers that use to bring up. So it's kind of not nearly as bad as Dragon Age Origins as far as like kind of pausing combat to select an ability to use, but it does pause combat occasionally to use them. And on top of that, you can control 2 other characters with you at all times and get to choose when they use their powers. They'll use them automatically, typically, but you can choose to tell them to use it if you want them. I believe you can even turn it off to where they won't even use their powers unless you tell them to. But yeah, so that's a broad overview of the general combat and gameplay. Is just a bunch of shooting and some powers. It's really not that hard to wrap your head around. It gets a bit deeper because in this game you actually have equipable weapons and armor. You have equipable weapons all the way through, but they get rid of like the armor thing. Or at least they downgrade it in Mass Effect 2 and 3. But you can get different armor sets with different mods on them, so you get different bonuses for whatever weapons you have. And then you also have a skill tree, which you can upgrade, which will upgrades all your abilities, gives them a different passive. Same thing with like guns can be upgraded to do more damage, or powers can have wider area of effects or shorter cooldowns, and you have other like passive skills that just like passively increase your armor and health and stuff like that. But I guess I'll open the floor to you guys, and I'll put in my 2 cents here and there about what did you guys think about the combat overall throughout the game?
Well, so I played the PS3 original version. Now, that was ported in 2012. The game did come out in 2007, but the PS3 version didn't come out until way later. I did play Mass Effect 2 first, so even then, I kind of had the feeling of going back because I was playing the original, and 2 does have a lot of quality of life changes, and I'm sure the others will, you guys will agree that the quality of life changes are a lot better because the game, going back to it from modern shooters, it's weird because I'm so used to aiming and actually aiming at the target, but and I played adept, by the way, so like I had the spells and stuff, but I mainly played with a pistol because it felt better to shoot with a pistol, because I felt like I was actually hitting the target. Because a lot of the guns, you don't need to even really aim on the enemy as long as you're in the area, because there is like an accuracy stat. Because it is more RPG related to like the combat rather than it being like Gears of War shooting, for example. So it felt kind of floaty at first, and I get used to it. But when I first dove in, I think on the initial first mission, because of the original, I'm so used to a lot of like new modern things that games do with like warnings and blood on the screen and like just near death like indicators. And I think I died on that first mission like 3 times just because I didn't know I was low on health, because the layout of the UI is one, very dated and very plain, but it doesn't really like tell you that you're low on health. You just kind of like collapse in a ragdoll, which is kind of funny, and you're like, wait, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
But later as the game goes, it's like, okay, well, I'm using the pistol. I know I don't really have to shoot at the thing, but hit indication isn't really that great. There is a lot of jank with some, like, I would catch on certain things in the level. And Shepard runs really weird when you like hold the run button in combat. He goes from just like jogging to running like 1,000 miles an hour really quick. So it's like, holy shit, I'm teleporting at the enemy.
When I was seeing him run, it looked like he had to take a shit. His legs are all wide. Like he's like, I gotta go, brother.
Yeah, he's very straight backed. He's not like combat running. He's just like standing as tall as he can and running straight legged. It's like, dude, you gotta poo?
Where's the TP?
If I Skyrim running.
If I remember correct, correctly
Oh,
as
you're
just
good.
commenting on the accuracy of the weapons, because back in the first Mass Effect, in the original, if your Shepard didn't have proficiency in a weapon, as in like, because I think soldiers had proficiency in all weapons, and like vanguards could use like pistols and shotguns, and then like everyone else could only use only pistols. And unless you had an additional power from beating the game previously, um without the proficiency skill, you couldn't even like aim down, well, quote unquote, aim down the sights. Like you could
Yeah.
only hip fire the guns, where they actually changed that in the Legendary Edition, where you don't need proficiency to aim better, but you don't get the skill tree, so your guns will never, you can never get the passives for them doing more damage or being more accurate or anything like that. But it's a nice little change in case whatever, if you're playing a character that just needs to whip out the shotgun really quick because there's a Krogan punching you in the face and your pistol isn't doing the job, at least you can still get it out and use it.
The
That's weird
other
logic.
aspect of combat that was strange for me, and I don't know if this carries over in the, like, legendary versions or the updated versions, but the and I'm not even going to go into the Mako till that, or
Well,
whatever,
we'll get to the Mako
yeah.
later.
but the cover fire situation, like, I don't think that, like, I feel like it was kind of an afterthought because the cover system wasn't really that great. Sometimes I would just be like, can you get behind the damn thing? And then when I would come out to shoot, he wouldn't pop back into cover. He would just keep standing there. And it's like, dude, wait, go back into cover. So like, it wasn't the greatest, but it was something that I had to get used to because I'm coming off of game. Like, I play a lot more fast-paced action games like recently. And so having to dial it back a bit and understand how the game works, it's not that it was terrible, it's just it wasn't like immediately comfortable.
You can say it's terrible. I think it's terrible.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I'm gonna look it up right
It's
here.
dated for sure.
Well, I mean, because like the game has a cover system, right? And for those of us who played, so Gears of War came out a year before Mass Effect, so we understood what cover systems in third-person shooters were back then, because that game has an actual cover system. Yeah, but Mass Effect has a cover system, but it's like, how the weird way to describe it is like a suggestion of a cover system, because you don't press a button to take cover. You just kind of have to like push Shepard against an object and hope he decides that that's something to hide behind.
Yeah, if you like run at it and then he'll take cover, sometimes he just won't.
Yeah, and like in Mass Effect 2, they adopted the Gears of War style where you press A near cover and you will take cover, and it's like actually useful. That's not something they fixed in Legendary. I don't ever take cover. If I take cover, it's not taking advantage of the cover system. I'm just forcing Shepard behind something where I'm not going to get shot. I'm not actually like taking cover and peeking out. I'm just taking cover for like a second for my shields to come back.
And then I guess lastly, to cover kind of a blanket of the combat, is using abilities, because I was an adept. There is little to no indication on whether or not my cooldown is ready. So
Yeah.
I have to like actually hold the wheel up and be like, oh, is it good? Or just keep pressing it until he just does it.
Yeah, that's again something they remedied in Mass Effect 2, where there was like a thing visually on the screen that tells you when you can use your abilities and when they're off cooldown. But yeah, and again, they didn't fix it in the Legendary Edition, so if I need to find out when my powers are off cooldown, I have to keep stopping and bringing up the wheel to see. It's like, can I use it yet? Can I use it yet? Can I use it yet?
Yeah.
I would say the same. I feel like this game was kind of like a very soft version of 2. With that whole health system that they had, it was the same thing that was kind of going against me as well. Because I'd be like having my team, I'd have my Rex and Garrus on my side, and I'm like, all right, man, this is a boys' night out, and we're ready to take people on, and then I'd be just like checking around, going through some crazy battle, and I'm just like, man, I feel like they're not contributing at all. And then I look behind me, and they're fucking dead. I'm like, oh my god, they're gonna kill us. Oh my god. Yeah, I'm like, oh shit. So I'm like, okay, I have to pay more attention to this because my boys be on the ground just taking naps. Dirt
like
naps.
The boys' night in.
Yeah, they're just like, oh my god, somebody call 911. But anyways, I'm just like, what the fuck? Okay, this is a little tough for me. And then yes, the fucking take cover. like, not happening. The guy is just like, nah, man, I'm gonna bro this out, and he just stands up on his toes and he's like, I got this. He's like taking fucking bullets to the teeth, and I'm like, you need to fucking duck, man, and it's just constantly getting my ass ripped. But it's like, I don't know. I was really enjoying the shooting for it. It was because after seeing Corey struggle, I was like, I don't seem to be having this. The shooting is not as accurate. It's not. Sometimes I'd be pinpointing on somebody's skull, but if they're like standing behind some sort of structure that's a little bit underneath their head, I can't seem to hit them in the scalp. So I'm just like, okay, I have to wait for them to really stand out in the open, and then I can shoot them in the dome. So it's like there is some work in progress with it, but the gameplay of it was not bad at all. I actually enjoyed a lot of it, but I do know that 2 was the one that I started with first before I touched the first one. So yeah, this is the first time I've actually completed Mass Effect 1 on my own.
I've played it a few times, and I will say Mass Effect 1, until the Legendary Edition came out, was my least favorite. I would usually like rush through the game and just make the major decisions that would affect future Mass Effects. The Legendary Edition adds so much more. Again, I don't know. It's weird for me to describe it, especially just via audio without showing someone. But like the bullets in the Legendary Edition seem to like just have more weight to them. They seem to be more accurate, whereas like I'm just having this vague sense of where my bullets are going in the original edition, so combat was always like a pain.
Right.
It was really hard to tell what I was doing at any given time.
Well, I was actually scared of getting the first one because there was just back then there was so much of talk of how bad the driving the vehicle was, and like it was just so boring that it would just kill you, that you would just not want to play or continue. So I was like, I saw like the demos and stuff of it, but not the demos, but like the trailers of it, and it looked cool because they were like, they had the choose your destiny, how you're going to talk about with people, you're going to go renegade or whatever. But I never purchased it just because of that one thing where they were just saying, dude, don't get it. The fucking vehicle driving system is horrible. They don't give you no direction. It's just not worth it. So I ended up waiting until I saw Corey playing 2, and then I just fell in love with that one. But yeah, this is the first time I did it just because of that whole fear of the whole vehicle driving thing.
Yeah, we'll get to the infamous Mako when we're going to talk about story and stuff like that. But yeah, that's another thing. Like I never did side quests at all until the Legendary Edition because they made the Mako driving actually like tolerable. But we'll get more into that when we get to like story and like level structure and stuff like that. Sorry, go ahead, Corey.
Like I came into this game, well, like I played it for the first time in 2012 on the PS3, but I did own the game in 2007 when it came out on 360. But on 360, I didn't really like playing it because it was just kind of like a laggy like mess, And the original also has a very weird like film grain defaulted to it to make it more cinematic, and everything is like gray. And it's strange because I came off of KOTOR because I had KOTOR on original Xbox, and then it's like, oh, these guys are making another space game, but it's not Star Wars, it's their own thing. But then after like giving it a try for like an hour, it's like, God, this game is like, it just feels terrible to play. And then PlayStation 3 is just a port of that directly. So it's not that it changed too much, but like, giving it a solid chance between like lagging and stuff like that. And like just weird shit that happens when you're playing, like using singularity and pulling all the boxes, and then you can't push the boxes out of the way, so you got to wait for your cooldown so you can try to push them out of the way so you can keep walking down the hallway because you accidentally barricaded yourself in a room. It's just that kind of shit. That it definitely, the game showed its age, which is kind of nice to go back because I think when we've been looking at like what game are we going to play in the month and we'd put a list of games together, Mass Effect has been in like every one of those lists. But I think our fear initially was like, oh, that's such a long game, it's going to take forever, even though I think the longest game we played so far is Brothership. But like this one's campaign was relatively quick to get through. I was surprised at how much you spend just running around shooting at stuff. And it's probably like maybe 3/4 of the game is like actually running around experiencing the combat, which they were very proud of, but it's very middle of the road.
And it's just so much more enjoyable. That's why I think the Legendary Edition is like, I'm almost like in the space of the Dead Space remake at this point with this game, where it's like the remake is the definitive way to experience Mass Effect. And just because of all the things that they do better. Still not perfect. Could still use a few extra tweaks here and there, but holy crap, is a Legendary Edition way better. But unlike something where, like, I guess, I don't know, I was like, I looked at what the difference between like playing, like, I do not want to go back and play old school Tomb Raider. I want to play the remake, where I wouldn't be inherently opposed to playing the original Mass Effect if I could help it. Wouldn't love it, but I'm not like afraid of playing. I still played the original Mass Effect probably at least 3 or 4 times. I think the other thing was like I knew I could get through this game fairly quickly because I've done it a ton of times. But I think the most unique perspective we're going to have today is that Edwin has never played Mass Effect, and I was super curious like what your reaction was going to be to this entire game, just combat, story, everything. Sorry, I mean, if you want to keep saying stuff, Corey, I didn't.
No,
mean to interrupt you.
you're good. I'm sure we'll dive into more stuff as we go.
Yeah, I was like, as Udon said, I was like, I've never played a single Mass Effect game at all. The only thing I've heard more about Mass Effect than actually seen like gameplay of it. So I literally went in with like no expectations of anything and just no idea of what I was getting into. But like starting off like the first mission, it was like a rather long cutscene for the beginning, just trying to like explain the world and like the place of humanity is in, and like the starting characters. I mean, it was a little bit to take in. So I know that I've heard that this game is like a lot of talking because you have to make a lot of choices. So I was like, yeah, I was like, I'll deal. I was like, I won't complain about like how much they talk in the beginning. And then when I got to the actual gameplay, the UI, the way the world looks, the level design, I was like, I liked it. I didn't like the fact that I literally lost one character, and it was like, well, this is a choice game. Did I fuck up already? That one, when you get to that first world, you just lose one of your guys, and then you have Caden left.
Oh
I
yeah.
was like,
I lost Ashley. Yeah.
The tutorial mission.
Yeah, it's like you immediately lose that guy. It's like, could I have avoided that? So I was like, I don't know, because I just started, so I don't know like what consequences are what. So it was just a little bit of a shock to me, but I was like, no, it's scripted. It's just like a replacement for Ashley.
Well,
The consequences is not using cover.
Yeah.
I just walked out and got smoked by drones.
I also think it's I think I might have heard this confirmed at some point, but the guy's name's Jenkins, and I think it's supposed to be a kind of also a reference to Leroy Jenkins because he just runs in and gets himself killed.
So I was thinking of old man Jenkins from SpongeBob. But
how did you feel about the combat for your first? Because you played the Legendary Edition, thank God. I mean, I don't think you would have hated the original. You definitely probably wouldn't have liked it as much, though.
I mean, I saw Corey playing it after I finished my first playthrough because I played it twice just because I was trying to like get as much done before having to import it when I get to Mass Effect 2. But like the first problem was it was really fucking dark, and I had to Google. It was like I don't want to turn up the brightness because there's like a lot of flashing guns everywhere, so I don't want to be blinding myself while playing this game. So I had to Google. It's like I can't find the flashlight button, so it's like way too dark to see anything. But then then I searched. It was like, okay, there's no flashlight, so I have to turn up the brightness. So like now it's just like my whole room flashes just so I can see shit while fighting and like in like dark corners. Because once I got to like what is it the first like one of the planets, it's just like really long corridors and it's just really dark. It was really hard to see anything, and I don't want to miss stuff. So it was like it's just a rather dark game. But like the combat, I'm pretty sure I'm the only one who made the mistake. Is I went to like the quick setup for building Shepard, so I didn't like change his features. I didn't change his class. All I did was change his name, and that was it. So that was like I was defaulted to soldier. I was like, I didn't even know that you could change the class. So I went through the whole game just completely oblivious to like class changes. So I just went through the whole game as the soldier. So I was like, I can use any weapon. I just assumed that was a default, obviously. So it's just like I was wondering why everyone else had like only pistol and shotgun, and then some of them didn't have any affiliation with their preferred weapon at all. So like I don't understand what any of these skills really do, because some of them are locked out, and then some of them don't have like the best description. So like the whole starting point of the game explaining the menus, the armor, the weapons, the upgrades, the skills, and all that, it was pretty overwhelming. But it's just like I most likely played like more complicated games than this, so it's like I'll try to like understand this the best I can. But like after like a few hours, I understood after trying to get through everything. It's just a lot of sorting through weapons and upgrades, which is one thing that bugs me for Borderlands. So it's just like a lot of menu scrolling, and was really time consuming for me. So it's a little bit annoying on that part. The combat was interesting because I didn't know that you could control the characters and just tell them where to go. I didn't really use it. I just found it interesting. I could just tell them to go up front and like cover me, or just like pay attention behind me,
or get out of your way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that was one thing that I was afraid of. It was like I thought there was friendly fire, and then eventually I just like did a point blank at one of them with a shotgun. I was like, it was like, no, I'm gonna kill him. It was like, oh, they didn't take any damage. I was like, all right, well, that eases my mind that there's no friendly fire, so I have no worry of killing them. So it's like that. I just started like blasting everywhere. It's like, yeah, get in my way. I was like, I don't care. I'm just gonna keep blasting all this because there's infinite ammo, which is no surprise to me. It's just the gun overheats a ton. So it was like the one saving grace of being stuck with soldiers that I have the no overheat skill on my assault rifle, which is the thing I was using the most. I mainly use the assault rifle and the sniper because I just thought that using the sniper was pretty fun, just headshotting everything. But the overall combat, it was different than what I expected, but it was still very much enjoyable.
Yeah, and a lot of those issues you're talking about, they actually, I think like a lot of people, you're gonna like when you get around to doing Mass Effect 2, you're actually gonna like that way better because they scale back on the RPG stuff. They scale back on a lot of things you're disliking, as like streamlining it. So you'll probably like that one a lot better. But I'm glad to hear that you liked it, especially because like I said, the original combat's not awful because clearly the game is well remembered and people will still say there's bad things about it. But definitely Legendary Edition is a vast upgrade with the powers, and especially the shooting feels a lot better. So
yeah, I did do 2 playthroughs. The first playthrough was just like a journey into the unknown, while the second playthrough was just like a turtle race, and I was just like, I just want this to end at this point.
All right, so that's combat. We're gonna move on to the game's second biggest point, which is the dialogue system and the infamous Paragon and Renegade systems, and how that pertains to dialogue and the actual like talkie RPG elements of the game. So Shepard, whether you're male or female, I forgot to mention that you can also be what we call FemShep, which quite frankly, I think FemShep actually has a better voice actor. I think they're both good, but when I play FemShep, I just feel like she emotes better with your dialogue options, and every dialogue choice in this game is voiced, which at the time when I played Mass Effect 2 especially was like mind-blowing for me. I was like, holy shit, you're not a silent protagonist? That's crazy. I didn't even know that they did it.
That sorry, but you let Rex live.
Yeah, Rex can. Well, he's cool. And fuck that person. She experimented on people and just wanted to get away. Fuck her. Plus, this is Renegade FemShep, so good, good segue into what I wanted to talk about. So, there's this thing called the Paragon and Renegade system in Mass Effect, and this persists through all 3 games, and it's really a double-edged sword for me. So basically, when Shepard's interacting with people, when he's interacting with your squad mates, with random people, doing side quests, doing the main quest, the bad guys, you basically ultimately have 3 main dialogue options. And you have additional ones that'll appear in this dialogue wheel. Anything on the left hand of the wheel basically is just there to give you more information on whatever you're talking about, where everything on the right-hand side of the wheel is there to progress the conversation into whatever the next phase of it's going to be. And typically you have the nice option, which is the Paragon option. You have the neutral option, which is completely useless and more often than not will actually just lead to Paragon points, just less of them. And then you have the Renegade option, which is is presented to you as being like the badass option, like I don't give a fuck about nothing option, but it leads into different things. And this system is really prevalent because it takes up 2 whole skill trees in the game, and you gain Paragon and Renegade points by selecting these options, which fills up this bar, which lets you progress more in that skill tree. And then there'll be several very important conversations through the game that you can get exclusive dialogue choices by getting those skill trees up to a certain point, which will let you make a decision. As you just said, there's a point in this game where you have to kill Rex, and we'll get to the characters later, but just know that there's a point in this game where you have a confrontation with a teammate that if you don't have those bars filled up with either enough Paragon or enough Renegade points, you have to kill your teammate, and he's just gone for the rest of the game and the rest of the sequels. He's just gone. He's dead. But the thing is that while this is a cool system in like unlocking important choices, the bad thing about it is that it really restricts like player freedom in choosing what they want to do. Because unless you go straight Renegade or straight Paragon, you are going to be like disadvantaged in terms of dialogue options and decision making because you will not have enough points to make important decisions down the line that you would otherwise want to do. And if you don't, you have to pretty much restart the game from scratch and completely dedicate yourself to being a goody two shoes or just a dickhead, essentially. So it's cool and bad at the same time. Quite frankly, I wish they took it out, but once they started in the first game, they just took it all the way through to the end, to the point where basically the ending of Mass Effect 3 is basically just a decision between Paragon, Renegade, and a neutral option. I and most people play Paragon typically because that's what most people can agree with how Shepard's disposition is as being like a goody two shoes. I don't want to kill any people I don't have to. I want to save everyone. Where Renegade Shepard doesn't give a fuck, wants to kill everyone, and doesn't give a shit about anything. It's just like supposed to be a badass, but in my opinion, because I played as Fem Shep Renegade through my playthrough, because this is the first time I played Renegade all the way through the first Mass Effect, and it just kind of makes Shepard seem short-sighted and quick-tempered, and kind of the other characters kind of make you feel like an idiot for a lot of things. There's a couple funny moments with it, and the other bad thing is that playing through it full Renegade, I've noticed that there are quite a few, not 100%, but probably like maybe 30 to 40, probably 30 of the dialogue options being you say the same exact thing whether or not you picked Paragon or Renegade, and you just say the same voice line regardless. So it's just like this illusion of choice thing. But yeah, so there's a lot of talking in this game, because basically the game is basically broken up into combat sections and talkie sections, and when you're in hub areas and stuff like that, there's lots of talking to do to get more information out of your characters, learn your squad mates better, pick up side quests, stuff like that. And again, we'll get into the characters a little bit later once we're done with like the story portion, since this game is well remembered for its story, which is probably its biggest selling point, is the story and characters, especially since its first iteration, the combat was okay at best. But yeah, that's the basic overview of how the dialogue and Renegade and Paragon systems work. So what do you guys think about the dialogue and those systems and how they integrate into the game, and whether or not, you liked it or not?
Like, I always like player choice. I enjoyed it in Fable, but I do think Fable kind of has a better approach to the way that they handle good and bad choices that you do in the game. And now I'm not saying Fables is completely based on dialogue, but they utilize, a good and bad system, and like your character kind of changes visually and stuff like that. I think there could have been like visual changes to being like kind of mean, like maybe you scowl more or something like that. But I mean, it's kind of limitations, I guess, because the character models aren't very expressive. They try to be, and it's kind of funny sometimes. But like I played Paragon just because, yeah, you naturally kind of you seem better, but also the choices kind of seem better too, because it'd be something like, agree with your team and boost their morale, or call everybody dickheads and make them hate you. And it's like, well, why would I choose that other option? Because that just seems terrible. But Dragon Age has a couple things in it where I was playing as I had Sten on my team, and he's a warrior, but blah blah blah. It's a different game. I was doing something in that game, and he was like, "Hey, I'm tired of side questing," and I was a wizard, and he just straight up started attacking me because I didn't do the main quest line that he wanted me to do. But none of those interactions happen with the characters in your party. Like no one pulls you aside during a mission or will confront you. Like you're never at risk of like losing a teammate from walking off the ship. So like I think that might have been a nice boost in like choices, because like maybe Rex is like, oh, I'm on board because you're a freaking dickhead. So like all your renegade choices make Rex excited to be on your team, but maybe Liara wants to leave. And so you kind of like have to balance it. But they don't really do that in the game. It's just more of the way they react to you at that moment when you say something. But there's a lot of funny shit that you could do, like punch the reporter. And like it does make it more interesting than it just being straight up just talking, because if you didn't actually have to pay attention, I think it's a nice way to drive the story into the player, because if you didn't have to pay attention to the dialogue so that you can pick the proper choice, then you might get droned into like not like absorbing the information that they're trying to feed you, because sometimes it is a lot of content that they're just dumping your way because of sci-fi jargon here, and they're trying to get you to be on board with however this universe works and the way that they're discussing things, because you're kind of in the middle of like, this is how the universe has been for many years before you even interacted with it. So there is a lot of lore and history that you can find out later, but you need to be on board with what's happening right now. And so they kind of, you could be short-tempered with renegade options and Shepard like, shut up, I've heard enough, and just like start shooting people. Or you could be like, yeah, tell me more about that if you're actually interested in the world. So I think it's a nice story tool for them to use.
And we'll get into the world later, in addition with story. But then on top of that point, even pursuing more things in dialogue options, the game has a huge codex that's also completely voiced. So there's so much more options for people who want to learn more about the lore and the world and how all this stuff works in this universe. So just another really cool thing that the game does.
And one more quick thing for the dialogue options is, yeah, it's all voiced, but in the original, sometimes the camera just holds on you and you don't say anything. And he just stares at them for like 20 seconds. And then the other, like basically what's happening on your screen right now.
Did I leave
Shepard is just, like Shepard's just looking at them, and it's like, are you going to say the line? And then it just cuts back, and they're like, "Thanks for saying that." And I'm like, "I didn't even say anything." He just
what's my line again?
Just skipped completely. Or somebody just like shoots across, like just because the characters go into like they line up specifically based off of the dialogue, and sometimes they're not standing where they need to be, and so those intimate conversations sometimes can get just really funny when you encounter like a jank situation.
I was trying to renegade myself. I mean, I'm always going to be the nice guy, but I wanted to try a couple of them, and it just seemed like you're just more vocal as in just yelling at people, because I was just like, I was doing one where I was talking to Joker, and it's just like, he says something, I can't remember, he's like some kind of snarty remark, and then his friend is like telling like, man, you shut up, and like they're just like basically arguing. And then I just was like, you know what? I'm gonna stand up. I'm gonna do the renegade thing. He's just like, shut up, Joker. I'm like, what the fuck? Why did you say it like that? I was just like, okay. And then I did another one, and then he was just like, I don't care. I was like, what? You're not even like using your brain anymore. You're just being a fucking dick. Like you're just straight up asshole.
Who's this guy?
Yeah. And I was like, okay, this dude just took charge, and he's just fucking everything up as he goes. But
commanding Shepard.
Yeah, Dick Shepard. But
I don't, go ahead. Sorry. Didn't interrupt you. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say on top of that was I was trying to use more sensible like conversations, because again I don't know if anybody else experienced it, but I definitely did. Was you're going to that one spot, and Rex has his little hissy fit and runs off in the corner, and I'm like, hey bro, it's all good. Let me just talk to the man. We'll fucking figure this out. I go to the guy, and then he's just like, I ain't having this shit. You're with them, blah, blah, pulls a gun on me. I'm like, whoa. Let's all be cool here. I don't have a choice or option to have him not want to shoot me. And so Ashley just comes out and just fucking gats his ass. 1-2 to the back of the head. He drops, and then 1-2 on the ground. I was like, he must be really dead. And I'm like, wait a minute. In 2, I've seen him around, so why the fuck is he dying? And I just check in with the rest of the group, and everybody's like, no, man, we got Rex. He's just fine. I'm like, well, what the fuck is going on with my side? Why is he dying? And I go online because I have to go online, and they're like, yeah, if you don't do this, if you don't have like a high enough level of speech or whatever, fucking, then you don't do his mission, the side quest mission called Armor or something like that, where you find his old ancient armor from his fucking family's lineage. He's gonna just gat you. He's gonna get pissed off, and you can't stop it. I'm like, well, that's fucking dumb. I'm like, I really, I don't want to keep him. I mean, I want to keep him. I don't want him to get fucking killed. But conversation, there was these options to choose, and none of them mattered because he was still going to try to shoot me. And it wasn't until I did that I gave me one more boost of, hey, chill out, man. And then, okay, I'll trust you, and then like, that's fucking dumb, but whatever.
Well, that's a nice interaction the game has, actually, so you're not too far off the point. There is unlike the Mass Effect 2, where basically side quests for your squad mates are kind of mandatory if you want the good ending. You only get the side quests for your characters in this game if you like actively talk to them. And basically that armor quest for Rex is a different way to bypass the Renegade and Paragon options. So if you have, I mean, you might have seen it in my footage just now. I didn't do that side quest in this game. I just had enough Renegade points to tell Rex to shut the fuck up and stop being such a bitch. And he stood down, and we didn't have to kill him. But if you don't have the points for that, you can do his side quest, and then that is a way out of not having enough Paragon and Renegade points, because if you do that for him, he'll be chill with you, because he's like, well, you helped me get my family's armor back, so I guess I'll believe you. And that's just a different way in order to let him live.
Basically, I just didn't have enough sack to tell the guy to chill out.
Pretty much. You didn't have enough testosterone running.
Please stop, man. Don't do it. Oh, pussy.
You're being mean.
You're being a bitch. And then it's like, okay.
You have to take Rex to N7's HR department.
Yeah, Renegade was fun for like a couple laughs, but I generally really prefer Paragon. Just not only it just lines up with my own sensibilities of what I would do in this situation, but the few times that I did laugh with Renegade is that in the very first mission with Eden Prime, when you get back, my femshep walks up to Ashley and is like, "The fuck are you doing on this ship? You're not assigned here." And she's like, "Well, Captain Anderson really liked my performance, so he transferred me here." And she's like, kind of sassy about it. And then Shepard's like, "We're gonna have a problem, soldier." And she's like, "Well, ma'am, when we were on Eden Prime, you kept berating me and calling me, saying me I'm incompetent like the entire time we were down there." And Shepard shoots back, like, "Well, stop being incompetent. I'll stop calling you incompetent." I was like, Jesus, damn. Because I'm just like, because it's like Ashley didn't do anything wrong. Like, again, we'll get to it in the story, but when you're attacked by fucking robotic entities that haven't seen outside of the fucking, like, dark edges of space for thousands of years, what the fuck are you supposed to do in that situation?
Awkward.
Yeah, so Shepard just comes off as, like, really short-sighted and stupid in that scenario. And not only that, in the same conversation, like, Shepard gets knocked out by interacting with this alien. Oh my god, I just got destroyed.
Oh jeez.
This alien fucking pillar thing. They're like, "Yeah, we brought you back to the Normandy, which is your main ship." And they're like, because you were knocked out, and Shepard, the Renegade option, Shepard is just like, "You didn't think to take me to a local hospital instead of taking me all the way back to the ship?" And they're like, "Well, no, we have better medical facilities on the ship. What the fuck are you talking about?" Like, it just comes off of like really short-sighted, like not thinking about it a whole lot sort of thing. So it's just kind of awkward. So I don't really care for the Renegade option, though I probably will take this all the way to the end just to see all the differences in the playthroughs. So what did you think about the dialogue options, Edwin?
Well, it's like I agree with like the difference. There's like that the Paragon and Renegade for like the more neutral options, the not red and not blue options. It's like that they are somewhat similar, However, I ran into like some situations because I did 2 playthroughs. The second playthrough, I was more like, I'm gonna go with my personal attitude towards a lot of this, but it's like it still ends. It ended up in the same way where in Cyberpunk, there's like some situations where, regardless of the option you choose, the outcome is still the same. Or when you pick an option, the response is massively different than what the dialogue options like said in text. So it was just like I was like biting out the ambassador because I already know what the shit he's gonna be doing to me. So I'm just like an asshole to him specifically. But it's like the way that Shepard says it is like they're like that is not the way the dialogue option I chose. Like I told him I was like you son of a bitch, shut up. And it's just like it's like I would not choose an ambassador to represent me I would not choose like any politician I know to represent me. I was like,
Exactly.
You didn't even call him a son of a bitch. It was like that's not the option I chose. I wanted to chew him out because he's a fucking asshole.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was saying with the whole Joker when he's like, "Shut up." It says like I'm refusing to follow orders or something like that. But he's just like, "Shut up, Joker." I'm like, that's not what it said on the fucking line. It's like, are you kidding me? What an asshole. He just skips it. You renegade. You're like, fuck what it says down there. I'm going to say what I feel. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's like the nicest person I was to was Joker. It was like because he's just like my personally my favorite character throughout the whole thing. I was like he's like well he's a Joker, but he's like he's not at all an asshole at all. He's just like doing his job for the best of Shepard. But it's like I do agree with the idea that like when it comes to like the separated dialogues between like good and evil, there should be characters that like would align with you more because of the choices you pick. Because there were some parts where there are like some parts in the where you get to make a decision, but the partners that you bring with you also like have their own say in it. In the beginning, I had Caden and Garrus, which are more on like the Paragon side, and then for like the second half of the game, I had Liara and Tali. So it's like there was some parts where I was like, I still have no idea. This is the first playthrough, so I didn't know like what the good option really was. I was just listening to like my squad mates, and obviously Liara, the airhead that she is to me, she was still like nice and everything. I was like, okay, she's like the paragon because she's like a nice lady, and then Tali, who's like more of a renegade like attitude, like which is probably why more people would like her. When I listened to Tali, I got pissed because so it was when you're choosing to let the indoctrinated aliens out, or to just leave them in there, or to just kill them so they end their suffering. I chose to leave them there. And then I thought of what Tali said. It was like, I would prefer if they were dead, so just put them out of their misery. I was like, okay, I can kind of agree with that. And then so I reloaded the save, and I chose her option, just put them out of their misery. I was like, yeah, that makes more sense. And I got fucking renegade points for it. I was like, Tali, I'm supposed to be the good guy. Why are you giving me bad options? So it's
make your own damn decisions. Don't blame her.
I was like, I was like, oh, I want to get on her good side. I was like, and then she's making me the bad guy. And it's like, oh, damn it. But it's like, but it's like, if you put like too many bad decisions, then like even like your own squad mates would hate you. Because I know you can ruin some relationship quests by being an asshole to everyone else, especially at like very specific points. For the dialogue option in general, I did learn that like the story choices that you make do lead like all the way through the rest of the game, especially for like very important characters. So it's just like most of the renegade options where it's like that person you will never see again if you choose this option. I was like, okay, well, this is the very first game. I have no idea how important they are, so I'm just gonna let them live. I'm just gonna ignore them though. But I do like the like world changing decisions, because that was like one of the better things about Fable 3 where it's like your choices like actually matter to like it actually matters visually and morally to all the other characters in the game, because the landscape actually changes if you make certain decisions, and then everyone treats you very differently based on those decisions. So it just puts more weight on whatever it is you picked at that moment. And it's like the fact that you can't go back and change it so easily just makes it like it's set in stone. You chose it.
Jesus.
It's like you better think really hard about this while while Shepard is staring right in the eyes of the character you're talking to for 30 seconds.
Well, and it's something that helps the replay value of the game, right? Because you have to commit to a certain series of actions unless you're going to drive yourself crazy, like having kind of like pseudo 2 playthroughs where you keep reloading and having like 2 games going on at the same time of making different choices. And to their credit, they stuck with a lot of these choice options. Like I said, once Rex is dead in the first game, he's dead for the entire trilogy. Granted, other characters basically take his place in the story. And as a lot of people will criticize about Mass Effect 3, me included, some of your choices here end up being that seem to be much bigger and would increase or would be a bigger deal later, end up not being. So it kind of sucks, but they also kind of shot themselves in the foot, like dedicating themselves to this system of like carrying over so many things into every game. But yeah, it's nice that a lot of you get to, I think the biggest thing, because you say you get to experience it, right? And that's another reason why people like going Paragon, because when you go Renegade a lot of the time, you'll kill a lot of side characters that aren't as important. But when you go Paragon, those characters will pop up throughout the entire trilogy. Granted, it's just minor roles, but it's nice seeing. It's like, hey, I remember you. I spared you. Hey, what's going on? What's up with your life? Going on right now. It makes I don't know. It's just nice seeing that kind of stuff.
I know, but it's like for the second playthrough, that's why I was like making my own personal decisions on that very moment instead of going full Paragon. But I was only Paragon for like the main story missions because that's the parts that I didn't want to change. So like for the side missions, I was killing like half the people involved.
And yeah,
it's a side mission. I don't care.
Yeah, the problem with that is that especially in Mass Effect 2 and 3, you really have to dedicate to one path or the other in order for you to like experience and be able to choose the bigger decisions of the game without being screwed out of them. That's kind of why I said it's a kind of a shitty system for limiting player choice, because if you just go off and do whatever you feel like, ultimately you're not going to have enough points, especially in Mass Effect 2. You have to like dedicate yourself to one side or the other. In fact, it's even worse in Mass Effect 3 because the biggest decision near the end of the game you have to have nearly full points for, and you have to do so much shit for it. So it's a cool system, but if they ever revive Mass Effect again in the future, we're not going to talk about Andromeda, and I'm scared of whatever they're doing right now. I kind of wish they'd leave it out of it, because I don't like morality systems in games too much, because I want to be able. That's why I like Dragon Age. I can just say whatever I want. I say what I feel, and it's not really the worst thing I have to think about. That is like how my teammates are going to think about me, and that'll also enforce like which teammates my morality aligns with, right? So
yeah, no, it's like I just got super lucky. It was like I knew that this game had like really like tough, like not like really tough decisions. I just knew it was like a choice based game. So the second I opened up the skill tree and then I saw like intimidation and charm, those were the things I prioritized the most. I was like, this is going to be so fucking important, because I always screw this up on any other game and ignore them. So it's just like I just leveled those things up as fast as I could. I also didn't know that the side characters had like their own personal relationship quests. So it's like when you said that Rex had like his own side quest for like family heirloom armor, I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about, because I didn't talk to any of these people on the Normandy.
And that's why you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot, because we're gonna get to characters soon, and I think one of the best parts about this game is being able to talk to your teammates after every mission, because they have additional stories. You get more of their backstory, and with Rex specifically, you actually have to do like getting that side quest from him. You have to specifically ask him about the armor when he mentions it, and that's actually on the left-hand side of the dialogue tree instead of the right-hand side. So it's an optional thing that you can even unlock, and it has to be unlocked by you being genuinely interested in like what he's talking about. So that's kind of interesting. And Garrus has a similar one where you help him track down a serial killer that he was pursuing when he was in CSEC that got away from him.
Yeah, I know none of that.
But that's the thing, right? This game is full of content that you just have to dig for. Um, so that's kind of a big wrap up on that system. I think we got a full round of about that. So now we're gonna drop into the probably the biggest thing about the game, which is the story. And again, this is an overview. We're changing how we're doing this. Otherwise, we'd be here for like 6 hours. I'm gonna give very broad strokes on how the story plays out. And I'm a Mass Effect nerd, so I'll try and limit my lore spouting to only what is kind of needed to understand what's happening. So, as mentioned before, you're playing a Shepard, which you pick a backstory for Shepard. Basically, again, between like a Paragon, a Neutral, and a Renegade option, that will inform what Shepard did prior to the events of this game. Because, as Corey said earlier, you're kind of being dumped into this world like as if you already know a lot of this stuff, so they have to very carefully write things so that you'll actually know what's going on, or like introduce things to you that isn't like just them a character looking at the camera and like explaining how the world works to you, because Shepard should already know how a lot of this stuff works. But that being said, so you're Shepard and you're a big deal in the human alliance military, the Navy in space. And in Mass Effect, basically, it's called Mass Effect because there's these ancient structures called the Mass Effect generators, or Mass Effect like warp points, that basically allow interstellar travel that humanity discovered. And we discovered basically there's a whole race of aliens out there in the Milky Way galaxy that are spacefaring as well. And we come into contact with them, doesn't go well at first, and then we kind of make peace with them. And now humanity is like and like integrated within like galactic culture, right? And humanity's making big pushes to be like bigger parts of the politics of the bigger galaxy. So Shepard, you're a big deal, and you're on the ship called the Normandy underneath Captain Anderson, and you're gonna go pick up this weird Promethean spire thing. And the Prometheans are kind of like the Forerunners in Halo. They're basically like this ancient alien race that came before everyone, including all the aliens in the galaxy, that as you understand, made all these Mass Effect warp points and fields and stuff like that, and other technology everyone discovers as they became spacefaring species. So you're going here with a Turian, which is we're already introduced to a alien really early on, and the Turians are kind of like this bird-like race of aliens that are one of my favorites. In fact, I just love all the fucking species in Mass Effect. They're all just so cool and interesting. Called Nihilus, who is a specter for the Council, which I know we're throwing a lot of terms really fast, but the Council is a group of 3 aliens that are in charge of galactic politics, and a specter is basically like a super officer that operates above the law. And they are vetting Shepard to be a specter for the Council, which is basically a stepping stone in order to get humanity a seat on the Council. And as you learn later, there's a lot of species in Mass Effect space, and the only 3 on the Council, with humanity being a relative newcomer, is kind of a big deal. So that's the general thing. But when you get to this place called Eden Prime to pick up this Promethean artifact, basically all hell breaks loose. You start... You encounter this race called the Geth, which is this robotic race of AI. Not really. Yeah, I guess they are AI. They're like a hive mind essentially that were created by a different race of aliens called the Quarians, that are attacking Eden Prime, and you don't know why. And they're using this giant ship that's like nothing you've ever seen before. So Shepard and co will go down, and you encounter you get introduced to a few characters, Kane Nolenko and Ashley Williams, which are your 2 human characters throughout the rest of the game. You fight your way down on the surface. Nihilus gets killed by this guy called Saren, who's apparently another specter for the Council, which complicates things. You encounter the Promethean artifact, and basically the Promethean artifact like beams this shit into your brain. You have these strange visions of like just like doom and gloom, but you don't know how to like process any of it. After everything is said and done and the Geth leave after presumably getting what they wanted, Shepard and co go back to this place called the Citadel, which is this giant like spacefaring cone city. It's really cool looking. It's kind of like a starfish actually in a lot of ways, like a closed starfish. To basically report to the Council and tell them what happened and how their Spectre died and like all the shit that broke loose, right? And you accuse Saren, who's the Spectre for the Council, of doing this. Saren obviously denies doing any of it, and because the Council has no evidence on either side, they just side with Saren because you have no evidence to prove him guilty. So your first mission of the game is to basically prove Saren's guilt somehow, that he was behind this attack on Eden Prime. So you're introduced to the Citadel. You go through a couple things. You're introduced. You get a large bulk of your characters here. You'll meet another Turian called Garrus, who's a C-Sect officer, which is basically the police officer of the Citadel, who's also going after Saren because he thinks he's a bad dude and gives Turians a bad name. So you get him, recruit him. You recruit a mercenary Krogan, which is this big reptile lizard-looking race, which are the big brewers of the galaxy, who's a mercenary who's going after a guy who you know has information. So you get him on your side. And then you finally track down this Quarian, which I mentioned earlier, which are basically humanoid-ish. They have kind of like avian legs, but these people are like completely encased in like environment suits because, long story short, they got kicked off their home planet by the Geth, and they can't survive in other atmospheres without these suits on. And she has information from like a recording from a Geth soldier that Saren had that basically proves him guilty of being behind this attack on Eden Prime. So you recruit her, get her evidence, and prove that Saren was behind it. Now the council believes you because you have evidence. And a minor fact, but the councils consisted of a Solarian, which is basically this game's version of like our version of what a gray alien would be, like a stereotypical depiction of an alien, like long, skinny, lanky, big eyes, but really intelligent. There's a Turian on the council, and then there's an Asari counselor, which is an all-female like blue race of humanoids that look probably the closest to humans out of all the races, except they have like these like tentacle crests on their head instead of hair.
I gotta be honest, I did not even realize that they were all female.
They are all female of the race. Yeah, they're all female of the race, and I don't have this confirmed, but like I don't know if I know they can mate with anyone, but basically if anyone mates with an Asari, they produce another Asari. They're a really interesting species. It's really quite weird. And so you have the Asari, and then you'll also encounter other minor races like the Hanar, which are jellyfish people, the Elcor, which are these giant like elephant-looking creatures, the Volus, which are tiny little like round dudes, and others like that. The Batarians, which are these really ugly four-eyed creatures. But there's so many races in Mass Effect, which is just one of the many pluses it has to like really fleshing out its world to make it feel real. That you have all these different races, and typically they do have like kind of their niches in society, but again, what makes it feel real is that you'll have outliers of each race doing different things, kind of like opposed to what you would stereotypically think of what these races do. But yeah, you get Garrus, you get Rex, and you get the Quarian called Tally on your team. All of them have technically different classes and different abilities. Rex has a little bit of biotics and a little bit of like just regular combat strength. Garrus has some tech powers. Tally's like all tech powers, and then Caden and Ashley are like Ashley's all soldier. Caden has a lot of biotic power. And when I say biotics, again, basically think space magic, but basically it's like telekinesis kind of powers and being able to like warp dark matter with your mind, essentially. And it's something that some races are inherently born with, like all Asari are capable of doing it. Humans are capable of it, but typically need like brain implants to use it, and Turian, like not a lot of Turians can use it. Kind of getting off track, but anyways. So in compensation for Saren getting away with attacking Eden Prime, the council now makes Shepard a Spectre and assign you to go after Saren. And you are given a option to go to 3 different planets. You're going to have to do all of them eventually, but it's up to you which ones you tackle in which order. Which one of them you go to, I think it was Novaria, where you have to track down one of Saren's accomplices, which is Matriarch Benezia, which is like a really high up Asari in their social structure. You have to go to another like mining planet to find her daughter, which also she might have information on Matriarch Benezia herself, and therefore also have information on Saren. And then what was the last? Oh, the last one was like Theros or something like that. Basically, I forget what the reasoning for going there was, but I think it was just something having to do with
Geth invasion.
Yeah, there was a Geth invasion, and the Geth are directly associated with Saren, so investigating it might prove fruitful. Now, you can tackle these in any order you want. Typically, my recommended one is going to the mining planet to get Liara, who's the other Asari you get first, because that's a whole nother, that's your last squad mate you'll get, and so you can have her throughout the rest of the game if you want to use her. Then going to Novaria to confront her mother, then going to, again, I think it's called Theros, but to go to this, the planet the Geth are invading. I'll stop there temporarily just so we can talk about those 3 planets and the introduction of the game in general. We don't have to talk in great detail, but in anything you guys want to say about any of those planets, just shoot, go for it. The only other thing I'll say beforehand is I will. The gameplay segments of all 3 planets are kind of broken up into like, you land somewhere and you either are already in this vehicle called the Mako, so you have this like vehicle combat thing, which in the original game is a pain in the ass because controlling this thing is a nightmare unless you're playing Legendary Edition where it's slightly more manageable. And that will lead to combat segment and then like a talkie segment. Like it's always broken up into like Mako time, shooty time, and talkie time. And each planet has like what order each planet has that in varies depending on which planet you're on. So you guys have the floor. Whatever you guys want to say about those first 3 planets, just go ahead, shoot.
Real quick, are you on the quest line to bang Liara?
Yeah, why not? I said fuck it. I usually actually don't romance anyone in the first Mass Effect because I like Liara well enough, but I don't really, and not enough for any of my shepherds to romance her. But again, I was doing all different things this playthrough, so I was like, fuck it, why not?
That's such a funny segue.
Nice.
I was like, I only know because like I did her relationship quest line just so I can get the achievement and then just load all the way back to undo it all. I just wanted the achievement. I didn't want to be stuck in a relationship with her for the rest of the series.
Well, here's the thing about okay, fuck it, I'll mention it now. You basically you can opt out of any kind of relationship you get in with any character within the next game in the series because time has passed. But we'll talk about the love interests when we get to the characters after we talk about the story bits. So focus on the first 3 planets in the opening.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I'm not cheating on anyone. That's why I undid it.
Yeah, I gotcha.
So
but you can go.
Are you okay? Well,
oh, come on.
Gives me time to think.
The first planet you're referring to the very first mission that you're doing when you find Ashley, or
well, you can talk about Eden Prime, or you can talk about the mission, or you can talk about Eden Prime, the Citadel, the mission where you go get Liara. You can talk about Vermeer, or not Vermeer. We'll get there soon. Novaria, or you can talk about the Geth invasion planet with the Thorian creature.
And
on
that's
it.
the snow level.
Novaria is the snow level.
Yeah. Well, I think that like the initial I guess Eden Prime, where the first mission is kind of a nice, like it's a very very small level, but it seems it's like kind of Earth like in a sense for like a cosmic game for that to be your first mission. It's kind of like okay, are we really going to do space? But like right after that, you get introduced to the Citadel, and the Citadel in the later games is so much better than this one because I just kept getting lost. And I think that as we talk about these maps, I'll say that the map system of the game is not good. You have a radar on your screen, but it doesn't do anything except for occupy screen space as this black disc that kind of has indicators on it, but it doesn't show you the level that you're standing in, which I could say like modern games has spoiled me on map systems. But at the same time, Ocarina of Time does have a dungeon map where I can see, and you can pause the game and go into a map of the actual level, but there still isn't any like indicators except for maybe a dot that says like this is a point of interest, but you can't interact with it outside of what that point of interest might be. And when you're on the bigger planets like the snow level, it's just kind of like, where the hell do I go? And you kind of have this the level kind of leads you to just keep driving forward, and eventually you'll get there because it's not like a giant like maze like level. But when you get to the one where Liara is, and I think that's the one where you have to drive around lava, and there's the gates and the things that are shooting at you, and you have to figure out how to maneuver this giant tank. That one kind of has, I think there's one instance of a secondary path to drive around stuff. And I watched Jordan drive up to the gate going like, well, where the hell do I go? And it's like, just drive around it. It's like, where? It's like, well, I know the whole level thing looks samey, but there is a gap you just drove by.
Yeah.
I'm
And
sorry, I'm not giving you a pass on that. Any of your characters that are in the fucking thing tell you to go around.
well, and then what is it? The way the Makos like control, it took me the entire game, I think, to figure out how it handles. And then it like when it finally dawned on me, nice.
What the fuck is that? Oh, you
When
punched
it-
her.
Right in the fucking mouth.
I told her to kick rocks, but I
You
didn't.
punched.
But the Mako's control scheme is that up on the left analog drives it forward, and you can, as you turn it around, turn the analog around in like a 360 fashion, you're driving it in a circle that way. But the camera angle doesn't dictate what forward is. So the camera is what kind of fucks the controls. And so when you're like using your cannon and your machine gun on enemies that ragdoll like crazy when you run them over, which is super funny. But also the Mako also it does have ragdoll as well. So when you're on the bigger planets that you have to use the Mako and drive around, you don't really get terribly lost outside of just the one multi-arid planet. When I think back to the game, I thought I drove the Mako way more, but it's usually like trying to jump over missiles when they're coming in, and then for some reason the boosters like angled your landing so that when you land you bounce or hit a wall, and then you're just fucking rolling the damn Mako around like a crazy person.
I think you remember more Mako driving because remember that's how you explore all the unidentified planets is mainly using the Mako and getting in and out of it 100 million times. So,
the Geth planet wasn't as interesting to me. I mean, I guess like combat wise, it was kind of fun, but like getting Liara, as soon as I had that mission, that was like the first thing I went to go do because I was like, oh, I want to get her on my team because I'm trying to get everybody on the team like right away. I got stuck in that a little bit. Like the level design for that's pretty cool when you go into the mine and stuff. She's kind of like, help, I got stuck in this thing and can you get me down? And you're like, yeah, okay. But then you guys take the elevator and you get faced with a Krogan, and that fight, I don't know what it was, but they would just melt me so fast. And I like that boss fight was just so annoying because I would have to turn and run for cover as soon as the dialogue options were over so that I can spend my level up points that I hadn't spent yet and get out of the way so that because I think he's like a Vanguard boss and he charges you, but there's also 3 or 4 other Geth that are standing right behind him just unloading on you. So every time, and I played with Ashley and Tali on my party, so I had kind of a balanced like group, but I think every single time that dialogue ended, Tali would just get murdered in an instant. So it's like oh shit. And so that planet gave me the most trouble I think out of the entire game, honestly, was just getting stuck in this weird boss fight because I probably should have done a different planet before that one. But there wasn't any like power leveling I could do because I killed everything on the planet when I was driving the Mako around, and they don't respawn. So it was just kind of like, well, I'm level 9, 7 or something. I have to make this work.
well, I think it's because this game has a big emphasis on getting good gear. So if you're not actively gearing yourself up in good weapons and armor, you're going to get outscaled very quickly, even if you are leveling up.
I think that's another thing that's not really explained well, or I don't know, maybe it's just user error, but you can add upgrades to all of the gear in the game for the most part. So like you not only just find regular armor, but there's slots on the armor for you to add like bonus shields or like bonus damage to enemy typing. and things like that. It's not as complicated as the games kind of get later, but it like once it's like, oh, I have all this shit that I'm carrying around, I can literally build my character better that way. And then it kind of makes the fights a little easier because you can add bonus damage that way rather than just relying on the raw damage of the weapons.
Yeah,
And
I
then
had to learn that
the
very
end,
slowly.
for some reason, I don't know, like I don't think there's a way to set up AI of your like player or your party members because they would just like I would equip them really good guns and then they wouldn't use that damn gun. Like Ashley like would change the sniper rifle. I just gave you a new assault. Did you fucking use it? Like, why are you changing to the sniper rifle? I know it's bad because I didn't give you one.
Well, go ahead. He talked about Novaria. One of y'all two can jump in.
I mean, I'm good. I don't give a shit about the planet exploring crap. It's too dead. I just like to go right to the fucking get go. Get me to the story, and it's walking around like what you're doing right now. I can't take that. I need
Hey,
to
Jordan.
get into the action.
Jordan.
No.
We're talking about the story. There's a bunch of shit that happens on those planets. You can talk about any of it. We're not talking about random planets. We're talking about the first 3 fucking main missions you're supposed to do, which is like half the game.
No, I mean, yeah, you want to try to prove somebody fucking guilty. That's cool. I don't know. I was into the whole part when you started getting to actually see Sovereign. That was cool. Like this whole beginning part here is, yeah, it's a filler for me. I'm not really too interested in it.
All right, we'll come back to you then. That's okay. Edwin, what do you have anything to say about this first half of the game?
Well, after Eden Prime, we got to the Citadel, which I was stuck. Well, that I spent like an hour doing all the quest lines, and then another fucking hour trying to figure out how the hell to get out. Because I couldn't find my way around because the game doesn't have a really good like objective marker. It's just like a bunch of points on the map. It was like, oh, point of interest. I was like, oh, quest. It was like, cool. Where's the exit? That's what I want to know. But it's like, so after an hour of being on the Citadel, like doing random quests, I finally got out and then forgot like half the missions that they told me to do. So I just picked one and then went to Pharos first. And then I was just like, oh, cool. You picked the one where you're just in the shit finding a bunch of Geth. So, so because that was my first planet, I had to learn this game very fucking quickly if I wanted to like actually get through this whole thing because it's mainly just a lot of fighting, like the whole way around, just a lot of Geth. And like halfway through, I realized like, oh, I have like synthetic damaging bullet upgrades. I died several times because there was just like a bunch of random enemies, and my teammates were dead in half the time because I didn't give them any good gear. I was just keeping everything for myself, and then so I just get one shot by the. Well, they'd be already dead by the Geth, and I'd be one shot by the fucking random Krogans running around. It's like because they, for some reason, I don't understand the point of some of the enemies doing this. But if you get close enough for you, they just run up to you and then start hugging you for no apparent reason. It was like, bro, back the fuck up. It's like I don't understand why like so many enemies do that when you get too close to them. So it's just like
that's called melee. That's what this game calls melee.
Well, I was like, I know, but it's like I don't know. It's just like I can't. They just run up to me. It's just like I'm trying to get away. It's like that's why I started utilizing the shotgun more often. Every time I saw those that like run up to you, but it's just like we're in a gunfight. We're just gonna. I don't know. It's just weird that this randomly happens. I just wish that like I picked the biotics thing so I could just push them away. But for Pharos, I died a lot of times, especially on the what is it? I forgot what that giant plant thing was called. I died a bunch on that boss fight because it's just like waves and waves of husks attacking you. And then after that, I went to Novaria, and then it was just like it was a very kind of boring beginning. I'm just happy that guy got arrested because fuck him. And then I got stuck on the puzzle you do when you reach peak 15 because the way they tell you to solve the puzzle didn't make a whole lot of sense, and I didn't have enough multi-gel to like skip it for the game to do it for me. So
Yeah.
I did have to Google it. Just like I don't understand. I was like, don't tell me how to do the puzzle. Just tell me, like, don't tell me the solution. Just tell me how to like solve it. And I was like, oh, you got to move like all the things to one of the other two pillars. I was like, okay, well, I guess that's simple enough. I was like, so I figured it out myself. I just need like better direction on how to do it.
Yeah, that's
Um,
like the worst puzzle in the game. I always recommend anyone who gets there just have 100 Omni Gel on hand to be able to get past it because the puzzle itself is stupid.
Well, for half the game, I didn't realize that the Omnigel and the Multigel were two different things. I thought I was like, I don't understand how my healing gels like solve electronic solutions for me. So it's just like my own stupidity in that. So I was like, I'm not giving up 100 healing items for this. I was like, that's not healing items. Like, oh damn it, now I feel like an idiot. And then after that, just like a lot of, I was like, I just got absolutely wrecked by so many of the bug creatures and the random citizens that just choose to attack me for uh, the matriarch lady. Uh, the actual fight with the matriarch was, I mean, I died maybe once, but it wasn't super difficult. I think getting up to her was more annoying and more difficult than the actual fight itself. But I let the thing leave because just like, yeah, I believe you. I'm not gonna be responsible for the extinction of your entire species.
Just let
So
it out of the cage.
yeah, and then I did find it creepy. It was just like, hey, I can control dead bodies. By the way, it's like cool.
What is it, the Arachnite Queen?
Yeah, the
yeah,
Arachnite Queen.
yeah. It's just like cool. It's like I probably wouldn't feel as much concern if you didn't just control that dead body I shot earlier. But
And here's the
whatever, you're
thing,
free.
it's basically a thing that if you look deeper into the lore, you kind of understand because I don't know who you took with you, but if you took someone like Rex with you, he is very adamantly against letting out the queen because basically the Rachni was like a plague on the galaxy that they had like basically the Krogan had to almost win single-handedly for the entire galaxy. They were like the only people that were tough enough to really deal with them. And they were like a huge blight, killed a ton of people, and the Krogan hunted them to near extinction. And that's kind of why letting that thing out is like a question mark rather than just like, well, yeah, why wouldn't you help this poor thing out, you know? Um, that's more, but again, you have to look more into the game to understand that. So
Yeah, I mean, everyone kept telling me like what that creature did, but it's just like, I mean, it's just the one. What's the worst that could happen?
the one that'll
It's
let
just,
it come back because it's
yeah,
a queen.
I was like, yeah, I was like, maybe I'm just too trustworthy of a shepherd, but like leaving that planet. Then I finally went to the mining facility. I started I had like halfway through like Novaria, I'm like questioning, looking at my team. I was like, I'm missing a character. And I was like, oh, it's Yasari. And I was like, oh, that's probably the one that I forgot about. And it was like that one quest. I probably should have done that one first. So then I finally went to the mining place and then got her, Liara. I don't know. Was it because I did that whole thing twice, but the first time around, the entire time I was talking to her, she thought I was a hallucination. But then the second time around, she just believed me. It was like, "Oh, you're not a hallucination." It was like, I don't know what I did differently for you to
that so
immediately know.
that's just a funny thing that happens if she's the last one you do out of the three quests. That's just a funny change in dialogue because the implication is that
She's been there.
ever since you left the Citadel, she has been hanging there this entire time while you've been dealing with everything else. So it's just a funny like, oh my god, I've been here for so long, everything sucks, everything's a hallucination, you know, like, are you even real?
That's funny. I didn't even I would not have noticed that. I'm glad you
Yeah.
told me. That's fucking funny.
Yeah,
It's funny, but now I feel a little bit bad. I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I kept you waiting.
yeah. That's also kind of why it's like I feel bad about it, so that's why I go there first to get her out.
Well, to make it up to her for like the rest of the game, I had her and Tali just so I had like a perfectly balanced team. So like I went through the rest of the game with just her on my team at least.
Mhm.
Is one of the missions that we're talking about in this that little like encampment where the dude's like, "Can you find us food and then fix the water?" And
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the Thorian place where
yeah,
you fight all the husks.
Yeah,
Yes,
Pharaohs, yeah.
oh man,
Pharaohs.
so that place, I think Edwin saw like my old checkpoints because he was watching me play when I was on that part, and I would die and have to start that mission all the way at the beginning again. And it was just like, oh my god, there's so much shit that I have to do every time I die because it's like the autosave feature was not really the greatest for like the original version or whatever. So it's just
Even the
like, well,
legendary edition, the
yeah,
autosave's
Yeah,
terrible.
it's
yeah,
like
Corey.
gotta do that again.
Everything that you went through, I went through exactly the same way, with
Yeah,
just
Yeah.
like faulty autosave and doing everything at least 3 times.
it was super funny though because when I was doing that mission and like I'm playing Paragon and they're just like, hey, can you just try really hard not to kill everybody because they're being possessed? So use this gas. And I was like, oh yeah, got you. So I took I got the grenade. I put the gas on the grenades, and it was fine. And I ran out of grenades, and I didn't really like check to see if there's any others. And I was like, well, I don't have any other means because I was throwing it at the husks and not paying attention that they were husks and not the people. So I was like, why aren't they stopping? I was like, well, I gave them a chance, and then I just killed everybody in that. Like the whole mission was just gunning them down, and then at the end, the dialogue, I think it was Ashley. She's like, "We did what we had to." It was like, holy shit.
So, for context, for people at home who don't know, on that planet, there's basically this giant plant monster called a Thorian that have taken over the innocent people who have lived on this planet, and you're given the option to use your grenades, like a gas grenade, to like break their like mind control as like a Paragon action. But Corey ran out of grenades, so he just had to end up murdering them all, which is the renegade
Yeah.
option.
I ran out of
Yeah.
gas, so I just used my pistol.
Yeah.
Yeah, and apparently I realized it the second way around is that you can't finish that part of the quest until you do one or the other with those civilians. Either gas them to paralyze them or to just straight up kill them. You can't just leave. You can't just ignore them and just let them live.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, cool. Don't run out of grenades on that part, people.
And you shouldn't really, because as I told Corey, who he didn't realize, but when you're at that section, there is a myriad of boxes around that just have grenades in them, specifically for that reason, so you don't run out.
So I only found the one. So
There's quite a few. You just have to look around for them.
I mean, I'm sure I killed a guy with a grenade on accident first because I was like, oh shit, I didn't equip the gas because I threw my little disc. It was like, boom! And I'm like, oh, my bad. Hold on. Sorry, Ryan.
Yeah, oops. And I was
permanently paralyzed.
That was the other thing that, as playing Renegade Shepherd, again, kind of hilarious because my Shepherd, you get a lot of Renegade points for just running in and just gunning them all down, right? So the game is like forcing this into your hands, like, hey, you can save them, but Renegade Shepherd's like, no, if they move, I kill them, and I'm like, okay, but like, how about you take this gas grenade? It's like, no, I'm gonna kill them. It's like, just take the fucking grenade and think about it. And when right before we go into that section, Ashley asks me, if she's like, hey, Shepard, are we gonna gas the colonists? And my Shepard's like, no, there's no way. Kill anything that moves. And Liara's like, whoa, we're really just gonna kill them all? And Shepard's like, yep, there's no possible way out of this. We have to kill them all. And then Ashley just shrugs and is basically just like, yeah, well, it sucks that there's no other way. And I'm just laughing my ass off. Like, there's
another day at the office.
It's like, there's literally another way. The character's been pushing the other way in your face, but Renegade Shepherd's just so bullheaded, just being like, no, murder all of them. I just found that hilarious.
I made that mistake. I was like, I was like mashing the A button trying to get through it. It's just like, kill them all. I was like, no, wait. And then Liara's just like, wait, what about the gas grenade? I was like, yes. I was like, yes. I remember that.
Yes.
I don't just murder them all.
Try not to murder. I don't like murder.
Yeah, they still accidentally kill one. It wasn't my fault.
Oops. Sorry, David. You're dead. All right. So how this translates into the greater narrative? Basically, you get Liara to hopefully get information on her mother. Well, she doesn't have any information on her mother. She does have information on the Protheans, who I realize I've been calling the Prometheans this entire time. Oops, they're called the Protheans. Sue me, whatever. It's another sci-fi franchise that has that name of the fucking ancient alien race. But she studies the Protheans as like a historian. So she basically used her Asari biotic powers to link with Shepard's mind in an attempt to like organize that like basically memory download you got from the Spire at the beginning of the game. She's not able to make a whole lot of sense of it right now, and I'm taking this as how I would approach these planets. All of this stuff happens no matter what order you take it in, just might happen a little bit differently. So she basically mind melds with Shepard to help him or her like basically categorize the information, but you still don't understand any of it. So then I track down her mother, Matriarch Benezia, who you understand based on the recording you used to prove. Get out of my face, dude. That you used to prove Saren guilty. You heard her voice on it too. So, and that's her mother. So there's been like a lead on her at this planet called Novaria. So you go there basically to just figure out where she is, and hopefully you can either kill her or interrogate her for information. You meet her there, and sure enough, she basically reveals that Saren has like mind control powers, and if it's not him, it's his big ass warship. That's really unusual and unlike anything anyone's ever seen. And that's basically all you get from her. You get some other lore about like how he does it and like what he's really after. Then you go to Pharos to basically get to this Thor. You understand that Saren wanted something here, which basically you figure out is this Thorian thing. And the Thorian is like a super ancient like plant creature that was around when the Protheans were around. And essentially Saren used it in order to basically get this cipher out of its brain, essentially, to understand the Prothean language. Bunch of sci-fi jargon to basically justify that. Just roll with it. So what you have to do is kill the Thorian, but the Thorian was basically mind melded with a different Asari, which she has this thing called the Cipher, which will let you basically, again, understand your visions better. And you get it from her, and then you mind meld with Liara again in order to really understand the memories in your brain, which you learn is basically like other Prothean memories of this ancient machine race called the Reapers coming and killing them all, and that's kind of why they disappeared, was seemingly without a trace, because the Reapers literally like wiped them out of the galaxy. You don't know why, you don't know how, but now you have that information. And after you gain that information, the council calls in and tells you that they have a lead on Saren having activities on this other planet called Vermeer. So you go to Vermeer. The game bottlenecks you into going to Vermeer. Vermeer basically is your only way forward in the main plot. You go to Vermeer, which you learn that there Saren has made a facility for breeding an army of Krogan. He already has an army of Geth, but with an army of Krogan, he'd be nearly unstoppable, because as the game has established many times, Krogan are the big bad boys of the galaxy. Like, they're 10 times tougher than like any other species in the galaxy. And you have a Krogan on your team called Rex. And again, we'll get to characters after we're done talking about story. But basically, for a brief overview, as I said earlier, the Krogan were essential in stopping this Rachni invasion, right? But the Krogan are very, very aggressive species, and they basically love killing and fighting, and that's like their top priority. So after and they also breed like rabbits, which is not a great thing. So basically, after they won the war, the Solarians, which are the big brain boys, they kind of neutered the Krogan. They did this thing. They injected this thing called the genophage virus into like their system, and like basically gassed the entire population of Krogan, which I believe it's like basically neutered them to the point where only 1 in 1,000 births are viable. All others are like stillborn or just don't take. So the Krogan population was like severely declined and basically limited their ability to wage war on the rest of the galaxy because they're so aggressive. But apparently with this facility, Saren had found a way to overcome the genophage. So Rex is like, well, we can't destroy this facility. This thing has a cure for my people, because the Krogan have held this against the rest of the galaxy basically forever, because their reward for saving the galaxy was basically their entire race being neutered, which is fucked up. Which that gets expanded upon with the rest of the series.
So now that you say that, a question came to my mind where when I was talking to Liara, she gave a description of how the other aliens see humanity, and they described humanity as like the bullies of the galaxy. So how is humanity in that way and over the Krogans if they're so
Well,
aggressive that way?
if basically if you I guess if you were able to ask Liara, if you asked Liara to basically draw a similar conclusion about the Krogan, she'd probably say something along the lines of, well, humanity are bullies of the galaxy, but the Krogan are kind of like the bloodthirsty psychopaths of the galaxy. Whereas
Okay.
describing but describing humanity as bullies basically means like we're just really pushy and as I described at the beginning, humanity's making really huge pushes into like the galactic politics, like pushing our way past the other aliens who have been here for much longer that don't have nearly as much privileges as we do, and we're just trying to be in charge of everything because that's humanity. We're really ambitious, basically. But we're not going around murdering people to do it. Whereas a lot of Krogan at least don't have a whole lot of qualms about just like pulling a bullet in your head and just getting what they want that way. So that's the difference in that. At least that's how I would imagine it, anyways. But train of thought. Oh, so Rex is not too keen on destroying this facility, right? So this basically, you've made a couple decisions in this game. As Edwin said, you can choose to release the Rachni Queen or kill her, which is a big thing that carries over in all three games. It kind of deteriorates later on, which kind of sucks, but oh well. But this is a really big part because based on your reaction determines whether or not Rex lives or dies. And it's determined whether or not you did a side quest or you have enough Paragon and Renegade points to convince him to basically not turn against you, because Shepard convinces him like, yeah, Saren like solved your genophage, but he's just going to use you as tools, just like the rest of the galaxy did, you know? So as soon as you're done being tools for him, he's just going to throw you all away anyways, and all the Krogan born here are going to be loyal to Saren, so what's the point? So we're going to assume you save Rex. And then you have to assault this base, and you team up with the Solarian Spec Ops team in order to do it. You assault the base, and you eventually fight your way into Saren's personal laboratory, where you actually get a one-on-one conversation with his ship, which you learn the ship is actually a living Reaper. And as what I said earlier, the Reapers are an ancient sentient race of machines that are like huge starships. But they're sentient. There's nothing manning them. They're completely, within their own power to move and think and whatever. And basically, you just get this like almost Lovecraftian-esque like conversation with him, where the Reapers see us as nothing but food. This is like the cycle. The Reapers basically let a bunch of sentient races come to apex of intelligence in the galaxy, and then they wipe us all out to use us as basically, assumingly, biofuel and shit like that. Or hell, they could just feel like it. You really don't get a straight answer out of them. But that's what the Reapers do. And basically, you get more answers as like something went wrong with this invasion, so that's why Harbinger, which is what this is Reaper's specific name, is referred to be as, is teaming up with Saren to realize what the fuck is going on. And you kind of realize that Harbinger is the one that has this mind control indoctrination power, and he's kind of controlling Saren. So you get a lot of lore dump here. And there's a lot more to go into, but I'm trying to restrain myself a little bit. But anyways, you ad hoc a nuclear bomb with this Solarian Spec Ops team with Captain Kirihi, who's the guy who leads the Spec Ops team, and you're just going to blow this whole place to hell. So you send either Caden or Ashley to assist with him, and then when you deploy the nuke, whoever you didn't send with him is dealing with the nuke. And then so you go away from the nuclear launch site, or the nuclear site, because you have to physically plant this bomb, because it's basically like a Starship engine jury rigged to explode, so it's not like something you can just nuke from orbit. You go to assist the other half, but then the person who's doing the bomb is getting under attack by Geth, and you have to make a decision on who to help. So you have to help Caden or you have to help Ashley, and depending on whoever's doing what, depending on your actions. And someone will die here. There is no way to get out of one of your characters dying here. As we'll discuss later, one of them is very much more likely to survive than others in a lot of people's playthrough. But choose who you wish. In my playthrough, I choose Ashley because I think she's the more interesting character. So you go back and help Ashley, and no matter who you choose to go help and save, you're going to be confronted with Saren, which Saren I love as a character. He's one of my favorite villains because I just like his backstory and like why he's doing all this. Um, uh, and what's interesting about this game is that you personally only talk to Saren here and then at the end of the game. Like Shepard doesn't talk to Saren a lot, but we do get a few cutscenes just from Saren's perspective, to give you a bit more context to the character. So Saren, you confront him with what you know about Harbinger being able to control people, asking him why he's doing this, and basically Saren tells you that he's doing it because, the Reapers are unstoppable, and it's better to show them that we're useful than to just die. And Shepard basically is like, oh, we can fight them, we can fight them together, or you're a coward, we can fight them together, Paragate, Renegon, yada yada. But basically you get more into why Saren's doing this. And it comes into a little mini boss fight, and eventually, basically, Saren almost has you, but then you're saved, and Saren basically pisses off because your nuke's ready to go off, and everyone runs away, and whoever you left there dies, be it Caden or Ashley. So that's Vermeer. And then after Vermeer, you're asked to come back to the Citadel because you're told that the Council has finally amassed a fleet to go after Saren. But it's not in the context you think it is. So when you're back at the Citadel, they ground you. So what they mean is that they amassed a fleet to defend the Citadel against Saren because they know that he has this Geth army, but you're like, no, we have to go physically after him because now that sorry, I skipped over something important. When you talk to Harbinger, you basically get a second download of the Prothean thing from another beacon inside the laboratory. So that tells you what that Saren's going after this thing called the Conduit on this place called Ilos. And you know that whatever it is, it's bad. But the council's grounded you because that is in this place called the Terminus Systems, which is basically outside of their jurisdiction, and they don't want to start a war with basically the other half of the Milky Way galaxy. So they ground you. So they take away, they ground the Normandy, your ship, and you're not allowed to leave. But with Captain Anderson's help, you basically break away and go after Saren yourself. And you go to this place called Ilos, and you find Saren, and he's using basically this mini Mass Effect thing that the Protheans developed to teleport directly to the Citadel. And you learn here from a Prothean AI that the reason why he's doing all this is that the Citadel is actually a giant Mass Effect generator, jump point, whatever you want to call it, that the Reapers use to basically teleport right into the middle of every intelligence system's like main central government and destroy it and send the whole galaxy into disarray. That way their invasion goes really quick and easy and they don't have any issues. But the Protheans, the last time, developed this thing that blocked the next time they did it, which is, they tried to do it, so this galaxy would have already been fucked if it were not for the Protheans. But it didn't work this time. So they sent Harbinger by himself in to figure out what's going on. He teams up with Saren to figure out what's going on. Saren has to get on the Citadel, who he's trying to let all the other Reapers through. So you jump into the Mass Effect, little Mass Effect generator. You get teleported to the Citadel. There's this huge fight of all these Geth ships and Harbinger attacking the Citadel, so he can take control of the station and let all the Reapers through. And it's just the end of days if it happens, right? So you do so. You get there and you finally confront Saren. And if you have enough Paragon and Renegade points, you can actually cancel out one whole phase of the boss fight by basically finally getting through to Saren and breaking through his indoctrination, dealing with sorry, train of thought just kind of crashed. Dealing with Harbinger and how it mind controls him. And you break through and Saren kind of realizes all the fucked up shit he's done. And he's like, okay, thank you, Shepard. You made me see a light, and he'll kill himself. Otherwise, you have to fight through like a boss fight similar to how you did on Vermeer. And you have another big decision. Basically, you choose whether or not to save the council, which, Paragate, Renegade option, you choose which to choose. And then you fight Saren again, because even though he killed himself, and he either killed himself or he took him down, presumably. But he has so much, like, mechanical stuff integrated into his system from Harbinger that his whole body burns away into he's like this husk thing that tries to stop you, and you have to fight that part of it. But eventually you get the better of him, and then the Alliance, the Human Alliance fleet comes in and destroys Harbinger with like this huge hail of gunfire. And then yippee-ki-yay, you save the galaxy, end of game. We'll talk about the endings at the end because it depending on what you did, a lot of things can change. So the other half of the game, Vermeer, Ilos, the Citadel, and the last mission of the game. How did you guys feel about all of that?
I threw Caden under the bus immediately, but I was making that joke the entire time I was playing the game. It's like, as soon as I get a chance to pick Caden, because I've played it before, it's like I'm just waiting to get rid of. I don't know what it is. I think it's just the joke because his name's Caden, but I would always just be like playing through and yelling his name on my ship. Just like, get the hell off my ship, Caden. So it's but those missions are like way more involved in the first half of the game, and obviously games get more complex as you go, but I think the level designs for the later missions are like way more interesting. um the because the names always like get by me, but the mission where you're like talking to the people and you have like security and then shoot all of those damn um basically like destroying the pillars so that you can get through. I think you might be doing that mission right now.
The pillars.
Well, it's not. They're not pillars, but they're like generators or something. You have to like break like 4 of them in this area, and then move over to another, shoot another 4 of them. But I believe it's the mission you're doing right now, and like that one to me was not as good as like the nuke that you when you go through and like because I liked that uh map. It's got like it's tropical setting.
He's on Novaria. This
Yeah.
is
That's
this
why I
is
was
where he finds
confused.
the matriarch.
Yeah, well, this okay, so
You mean
the
fighting on the beach with the shadow?
no,
The
I was saying like
Cyclops?
I like the beach level way more. Like it's more open and stuff rather than these tight corridors of this mission. So like
Oh.
as you do the mission with the like the nuke and stuff, I like that level. Um I like when I was thinking back to like my first playthrough, I thought that's where I fought Saren because the area where they bring the nuke out, that's like the water and stuff. I kind of was like, oh, isn't this the part where he like comes in on his like floating thing or whatever? But I guess I was misremembering that obviously because that's the part where you get your like giant hologram warning of like, hey man, I'm going to come and kick your ass, and you're just like, oh shit. The Citadel portion is really it's like small, very fast paced to handle that second part. And then when you go to do the last part where you're fighting um like on the Citadel, when you go through the elevator and stuff and like the angles kind of change, like I really like that last, just like the last battle session. I think that was done very, very well. And the boss fight, I guess, with Saren is kind of underwhelming. I mean, it's cool that you could tell him like to go kick rocks, and he's like, "All right," and swallows a bullet. But um, he's kind of just like fighting one of the regular Geth that jump all over the walls. So it's
Yeah,
not.
it is kind of lackluster.
Yeah, I kind of wish like yeah when you talk about like some of the bigger boss fights, I thought there would be at least something else to do, like fighting a ship or something. But his fight was kind of meh to me. He got smoked by that time. I definitely had a lot more gear and stuff at this time too, so it was fairly easy to just walk in there and wreck his shit. I also didn't choose to save the council. Um, I just kind of was like, screw him, kill that damn thing.
Damn.
So,
Cold.
yeah. So that's just kind of how that was my playthrough. But like I think I like the last level is really cool. And then what is it, the drive up to the Prothean stuff, like getting to drive through the Prothean ruins was kind of neat when they talk about like the pods and how it's like you get the lore of like what happened to them, and uh it starts to really like set in of like how awesome the game is, I guess, and like leading into the fact that there's, because I played 2 first, so it wasn't like I hope there's more. Like I already know because I was 3 and I had beaten 2 before I even played this, so I knew a trilogy, like it was a trilogy. It wasn't a surprise. So I was just coming back here to kind of see where it all started, and it was just kind of more fun that way, I think.
Yeah, I like for where I was at. That my part that was kind of funny for me was like you're looking at all the other characters and such, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, my mom, and she's been controlled by Saren. You're going to go face her, and the first thing you do is you see that rack, right? And you're just like, hey, eyes up here. And I'm like, I gotta fight this freaking chick. And then I was like, whoa. And I like just finally get through it. I was like, oh man, just lay it out. But anyways, I got forward with that whole story, and it was building up. And like I said before, I was just seeing everything as just kind of a check the box kind of thing. You're going through and doing these missions. Obviously, it's a lot more deeper than that. I really am a fan of Mass Effect. It's just my whole thing that really got me just really engraved in the whole series is the Reapers. Just the whole idea that they're these unknown things, that the reason why they're unknown is because if you get to know them, you're already dead, because they're going to erase you from existence. And the fact that you see just one, only one, and it tells you that you're living because it decides you're going to live, and once you're going to die, it is going to determine that for you. You do not get to choose, they choose for you. And so you're just like, holy shit. And it undermines you in so many ways, just making you feel like you're this nothing that's going to be basically soon to come. Your time will come that you are going to be gone like the others. Like, all this future technology that you guys are coming across, and you're thinking you're getting better and stronger, when in actuality you're basically going to meet your doom. It is going to be you next, and there's no stopping it. So it's like, holy shit, that is fucking on. There she is. And it's just like, holy shit. Like I'm gonna lose thought here, but yeah, I'm just like, holy. It was a really cool thing to see something like that much that menacing, to be able to be like, they're that confident that they're going to destroy you because they've done it for so long that they've basically lost count. And I as we went through further into the story, and then finding out that this one thing is causing this much trouble when it gets to the Citadel, and it's one on its own, but they have this entire army trying to help fight against it, and it's just kicking everyone's asses, makes me, which I already know 2 and 3, but it's just like, if I was to see that firsthand playing the game, and I saw that this thing can do that much damage just by itself, holy shit, what is the rest, like, an army of those going to look like? So it keeps you on edge the entire time. And the fact that they had to go through all this trouble to stop one just makes me want another, to keep going with the story. Like, holy shit, like, this is building up really well. And I fell in love with it. But unfortunately, I played 2 first. I went with the whole Star Wars thing. You go way high in the series and you start going backwards. Like, that's kind of what we ended up doing here. But again, it's a great series, and I've not turned back since, except for with Andromeda, which we will not speak of.
Maybe someday for content.
The way you guys make it sound is like, I don't think I'd want to do it either. But
I don't want to do it either.
It's just quiet. I don't want to do that shit.
So we're in agreement.
For the Vermeer planet, it was like fairly tropical, which was kind of off-putting. But it's like, hey, whatever. I was like, I guess every planet can't look like very depressing, but
that's how space works.
For Vermeer, I was like, I mean, at that point, I was already getting really sick and tired of driving the Mako, even though I didn't have that much problem with it. It was just like too much driving. I just want to shoot. I just want to like run around and shoot things and try and use my abilities a bit more. But it was a lot of shooting, so I was like getting a bunch of experience. I was stressing out during the decision of keeping Caden or Ashley. I just sent Ashley because the only thing I thought of her was like, oh, she's a good soldier, but she's also a bitch. So I sent her to go and to go on the other team because I didn't care.
100%.
And I kept Caden. And then I just did as much as what the guy asked me to. I was like, I don't like Ashley, but I'm not gonna like go out of my way to get her killed. I just had to like make a decision. It was like, if I'm better off just like not having Ashley to choose from. So I went through the whole thing. I tried to make sure I did all the side objectives to make sure that they didn't have that much trouble. I like that they had responses for everything that I was doing right. It was like, oh, he did this, so it was like, now we don't have to deal with it. Everyone push. But for getting through the entire thing, I think I already explained like the imprisoned people and Tali giving me bad direction, some renegade points. I managed to not get Rex killed. Just luckily enough, putting a lot of Paragon points and the charm and intimidation skills. Going all the way to, I think Corey, you showed me the introduction of Sovereign, like the really creepy speech that he gives you when you find the beacon.
Yeah.
And there, yeah, you showed me that before.
Like,
I
way
thought that
long
was in a
ago.
later game. Huh?
Yeah, it was like way long ago. I think we were talking about just like villains in general, of like who we thought was really cool, and I was like, oh, there's this speech that happens in this old game called Mass Effect, and I just pulled it up because it's just like the most dooming thing. Where he's like, I'm coming for that ass, and then Shepard's just kind of like, oh,
Oh no.
well, I'm gonna go tell everybody about it. They won't.
I'm
Yeah.
telling on you.
We need evidence, though. Like, fuck.
Yeah, it's like when that started like playing, I was like, wait, I've seen this before. It was like, oh yeah, Corey showed me, but I don't remember what it was about. And it's just like, yeah, that was a really creepy speech. It was like, you live because we allowed, and you die because we demanded. It was like, Jesus, this is like, no, it's like,
Well,
no, no,
so
I always
fucking
found it
cool.
refreshing because the Reapers are just such a black and white villain. There is no room for subtlety with them. It's like, we are your gods, you are vermin, go fuck yourselves.
Yep.
Like that is
It's
it.
so
That is
fucking
our
cool.
entire thing.
you know, I was like, I got confused later on. I was like, who the fuck is Sovereign? I thought Sovereign was like the leader, not like the ship that, like he was like the leader of the Reapers, not Saren's ship.
Oh
which
fuck!
I-
It is Sovereign. I've been saying Harbinger. God damn it! I got the two mixed up. Harbinger's in
Yeah.
Mass Effect 2.
That's
Fuck.
what I was
Oh, well.
gonna say, but I didn't because I don't know that much. I know you read the book, so I just,
No, I
like,
know that
stood-
much. I got my
Okay.
fucking wires crossed. I mean,
Okay.
y'all, everyone knew who I was talking about. But
Yeah, I was, like,
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
getting confused too. I was
Yeah.
like, wait,
Yeah.
I'm on the wrong.
Sorry, yeah, Harbinger's the fucking Mass Effect 2 villain. Sovereign, you're right. Sovereign's the Reaper ship in this. I'm fucking stupid. Anyways, continue.
Yeah, it's like well, it was the last cutscene that really confused me. It was like, but it's just like I guess I wasn't paying as much attention as I needed to. But like I quickly gave up on Ashley. I was like, I let her die. I was like, oh shit! I thought everything on the side I was doing was actually like my ability to save her, but I guess she still dies regardless. So I went back and
Nice.
saved Kaden, and then
Sorry.
like we went back and I was like, well, the nuke went off, and then we're missing Ashley, so she is absolutely dead. I was like, I still felt bad, but moving on. The
Oh no. Anyways.
yeah, what was it? It was the Citadel, and then it was Ilos, correct?
Yeah, you go to Citadel
Okay.
first, and then you go to Ilos. Yep.
Okay, so when I got back to the Citadel, the way that everyone was like describing like this whole situation, it sounded like I was not going to be able to come back to the Citadel. So I was wondering, I was like, is there I just went on a Google search rampage to trying to figure out, I was like, is there anything super important that I need to do before I leave the Citadel? I was like, yes, I did a bunch of stuff. So I did everything that I searched for, and then once I left the Citadel, I was correct in my suspicion. I was like, "Yep, I can't go back to the Citadel." So I was like, after that I spent like maybe a whole week just like doing all the side quests before I actually went to the last mission of No Return, and I was just getting super irritated. It was like I did the quests. I didn't do like any of the material searching or emblem finding because I was like, I'm fucking sick and tired of driving this fucking Mako everywhere. So I was like, I did the last quest. And I was like, I'm out. I'm going to go to Ilos and finish this thing. And I was like very overpowered. I was almost at the max level. So I was just like gunning everything down in Ilos. I was like, I had to restart the save because for some reason when you're going down that tunnel, if you go to like through certain parts, everyone either talks over each other or everyone just like stops talking and doesn't finish their dialogue. I was like, I'm trying to listen to what you guys are saying, and then sometimes it would end like earlier because like a bullet just like whiffs past the Mako. It's just like, oh, we're being shot. I'm gonna shut up now. I was like, no, continue fucking talking. We're like a mile away from where that bullet came from. So I was starting to get really pissed because I just want to listen to the dialogue until I can understand what is happening before I lose my shit again. And then for the talking to the Prothean, the hologram thing that they left behind.
No, that's Harbinger. That's the Reaper.
No,
oh no, you're talking about Isla. You're talking about Ilis. Yep, sorry.
Yeah,
Yep, you're right.
yeah. It's like
that's it's not a Prothean per se. It's a VI, so it's an artificial intelligence that's created by the Protheans.
Yeah, it's like that was like a really long conversation, and then just as it was about to end, Liara's just like, "No, we gotta ask more questions." I was like, "Fuck, lady, I've been here for like 15 minutes talking to this thing." And it's like, fine. I was like, because at this point I was still unsure of like how important it is to fill the codex, because I assume like every other dialogue option that isn't like driving the conversation is just more like questions of curiosity. I thought that it was like it like builds up Shepard's like knowledge of everything, so like you still get more dialogue options the more like your character knows more about the universe. So it's like if I know about like a specific race, then I can bring it up in like another discussion about them. So I just get like more dialogue options in the future. Because I didn't know that this game was like 4 to 5 missions short. I thought it was much longer, but I finished in like less than 20 hours. But after that, I went through the entire Citadel, which is just a crap ton of fighting, which I found very enjoyable. And then I also was able to skip Saren's first fight, and then I thought it just ended there because I think at the same time I was talking to Jordan and he was fighting. He was talking about fighting Saren for real in that first phase. Like, no, he just killed himself. And then Jordan's just like, what? I was like, oh, okay. I was like, do I really not need to fight this guy? Who's been built up this entire game? And I made the decision to save the council. And then after that, it's like, then Saren comes back. I was like, oh shit, I guess I do have to fight him. And then it was like, and I got really pissed when he started bouncing around the room. I was like, oh, god damn it. It's like, I already hated like the regular Geth jumping around the area just to shoot them. So now having a boss do the same thing, I was really upset and annoyed. It's like, yeah,
I'm
damn it.
taller.
Yeah, it's like you're just a taller, stronger, and more annoying version of the enemy I already hated. Plus, it's just a bunch of random Geth soldiers just coming in to shoot you as well. And then that was just like the last fight. But that cutscene of Sovereign coming into the Citadel to attack it, I was really confused at that cutscene because, like, wait, that's a Reaper ship, isn't it? I thought that I already failed because there's already a Reaper ship like fucking shit up. And it's just like, I was like, so I was really confused. Like, no, that Sovereign, that ship is just the one Saren had. Like, there's still the entire fleet. So I was just really confused on that one, and then I playing it a second time around. I was like, oh, okay, now it makes sense. So it's just like a more clarity on my end for the second playthrough. But I just thought it was a really stupid and unnecessary cutscene. I know what they were trying to do, but it looks so cringe. It's just like the fake death of Shepard. And then he's just like, it's just Superman running just across the room and just like, I'm alive, and it just jumping on the piece that fell on them of Sovereign. It's just like this. That was really stupid. But I knew what you were doing. It was just a fake death. I was like, that was just really dumb. I can't stop thinking about stupid.
It's just a campy action segment to end an action movie. Essentially, it's just I don't know, I think it's funny. It's something weirdly charming about it. Um, we're going on a bit long, but I guess I wanted to talk specifically about the characters. But unless anyone else has wants to talk about the characters just a little bit more in depth, I suppose. Does anyone want to do that, or we can skip that and just talk about the ending and give our overview or our rating on the game?
I think we can go to the end. It's fine.
Okay, that's fine. I'll just give a brief thing. Just let me have this. The characters in the game are very widely. It's probably one of the best thing about the game. On top of the story, the characters are really interesting. All the characters are much deeper than you might expect. Garrus is probably one of my favorite characters in a video game. Period. So is Rex. So is Tali. Liara's all right. Kane's Ashley's pretty decent. At least once you get beneath her fucking bitch of an exterior. And as
She's
Edwin
a
said,
racist.
yeah, she's a racist, but she's also religious. But she goes on a character arc throughout. If she's alive,
Not anymore.
she goes on a character arc of actually warming up to the alien races. So she actually does grow as a person. So it's interesting. But I don't know. I guess it's just one of my personal things. One of my favorite things is talking to the characters in between each mission and getting more from each of them, and you get to know them pretty intimately, especially if you keep them alive through all 3 games. So it's just something for my end. But yeah, we can go ahead and go into the ending. So basically, after you beat Saren, one of the we already set up, but you're given 2 options: save the council or kill the council, and that's kind of like your big last decision of the game. Because it impacts kind of how the second game kind of views humanity. Again, if you kill the council, all 3 of those characters gone forever. They're done. So it's kind of a big deal. So in the Renegade ending, where you choose to kill the council, basically, again, kind of a funny thing that happened with a Renegade femship is that when you have a cutscene with Shepard, Captain Anderson, and Ambassador Udina, who's another character that you get to see a lot on the Citadel, because he's the basically representative for humanity, essentially. But you're talking to all 3 of them in this dark room. Renegade really gives you this sense of you're a bad person. Everything's dark, everything's red. It's kind of creepy. But you're talking to them, and Captain Anderson and Udina are talking yeah, we did the right thing. It's sad that the council died, but we had to keep back all of our forces so we could attack Sovereign as soon as he was vulnerable. And then as Renegade Shepard, you basically say, yeah, no, I did that on purpose because I wanted them to fucking die. And then Captain Anderson kind of looks at you, he's like, holy Shepard, what the fuck is wrong with you? I kind of had the same reaction. I was like, "Damn, dude, that's cold." Oh, it's you basically admitted it's no, I didn't have to do that. I just did it because I wanted to because I didn't like them.
We won. Punches a baby.
Yeah, I mean, I described it as the Renegade ending for this game truly is the SpongeBob meme of it, we did it, Patrick. We saved the city, and everything's just on fire around you. You're just a terrible person. It's you killed so many people and let so many people die that you just didn't have to, but you just did it anyways because it was slightly more convenient. But yeah, you oh my god, I just got bodied. Anyways,
you doing yoga?
Yeah, holy shit, I've never been one shot like that before. That was crazy. So I don't think BioWare thought that they were gonna they left it open where if this game could have stopped there, that would have been it. But they obviously left it open for a possibility of a sequel. I don't know if they knew at the time they were gonna get one. Regardless, they left it open ended enough, and obviously it led into Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3. Overall, love this game. I've loved Mass Effect. I love the whole series. Mass Effect 2 is still my favorite. Mass Effect 1 coming in close second. Mass Effect 3 is my third most favorite because weirdly enough, I kind of like playing the multiplayer more than the single player Mass Effect 3. But anyways, we can talk about the endings everyone got. You can go into your own personal last thoughts about the game. I'll go ahead and start. Ending's all right. Don't really like the Renegade ending. The Paragon ending's like way more better because the Council's alive and they're like, "Hey, Shepard, you're cool. We're cool now. Thank you for saving us. Thank you for saving the galaxy. We're gonna work together in the future and stuff." But basically, they still don't believe you about because at this point, Shepard's still the only one who's talked to Sovereign, who's actually talked to a Reaper and actually knows that they're coming. So the council doesn't believe them, and granted, I've always sided with the council. They make decisions for galactically billions of people, so they can't make decisions about anything really without solid evidence. So them not believing you throughout the entire game is kind of believable. So Shepard basically makes a vow to like, I'm gonna stop the Reapers. They're a coming, and I'm gonna stop them because I'm Shepard. So that's the Paragon ending. That's my preferred ending for the game, because otherwise, like, without the council, you basically instate a basically council of just humans, and the humans start taking over. I'm like, this is getting a little Nazi in here. I don't know. This is getting a little weird. Anyways, I love Mass Effect. My favorite thing is the story and the characters. Combat can be a little jank, but overall, I adore this series. It has some of my most memorable characters. I keep coming back to the characters. The Legendary Edition makes the gameplay of the first one way more tolerable. And even though they do strip out some of the RPG elements that I kind of liked in this game in later entries, I still love the later entries for what they are. We'll probably get around to playing them eventually for the podcast because I'll probably advocate for it. But yeah, I absolutely adore this game. If I'm rating the Legendary Edition by itself, and keep in mind, we only talked about like the main story today. There is a ton of side content in this game that you can just get lost for hours and hours and hours. From exploring random planets to getting side quests that do all other sorts of things. To like, I don't know if there is DLC for this game. I think there might have been like some small stuff, but overall, at a score out of 10, I'd give it an 8 out of 10. At least the Legendary Edition. I'd knock probably a point or two to like a 7 out of 10. Maybe, yeah, about 7 out of 10 for like the original edition, just for all the janky controls. But with the quality of life additions to the Legendary Edition, it's easily an 8 out of 10 game just for everything that's involved with it. It can be really quick, as we've discussed. It didn't take us long to play this, but you can easily get lost in all the side content. And I think has some of the best story and characters I've had. Maybe, I mean, there's holes to be found in it for sure, but I've always remembered this game just for its deep lore, its believable galaxy, and just how much more they expanded on, and looking at the series as like a trilogy whole, not talking about Andromeda. So that's my perspective on it. So anyone wants to take the baton from there, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I played the original game twice, and for a rating, I mean, I'll go ahead and just say that it's a pretty good 7 out of 10 game for like the original. It does have charm, it does age, but like with the remake or Legendary Edition, like, yeah, that's a much better version of it to play. That being said, the story element isn't the thing that's upgraded because it doesn't need to be. It's really good, and like there's a lot of stuff to go over in the game that it was actually the first like major sci-fi game that I got into, because I always played like fantasy games, and so like Dragon Age was the game that I loved, and then people were like, "Oh, Mass Effect's pretty good," and I was like, "I don't think so. Like, I don't really get into the sci-fi stuff that much. Like in outside of like Star Wars, because Star Wars was like the only thing I really knew." And then when I gave Mass Effect 2 a try, I was like, "Oh shit, this game is actually pretty dope." So coming back to play this, I was very glad that I did, because it was just almost like watching a prequel of the things that I was doing, even though it is the first in the series, but just not how I was introduced to it. From my initial thoughts of it being some janky 360 game with bad frame rate. I like the alien races. I have the art book of this franchise. I like looking through it. I love the Reapers and the concept of that, like, impending doom that they give. I like how the entire premise of the games as a whole are like bringing like the universe together to fight, and you're the one that's doing it. But in this first game, it does have kind of like that God of War 1 ending where Kratos just sits down on the throne, and it's like there's room for more, but you don't need it. Because you could look at this as a like we stopped the Reapers, but there's more out there, but we're safe, but for how long? Roll credits type of thing. I think that could easily stand on its own legs too, and just be a really good sci-fi game that we played that one time on 360. The fact that we got more of it is just awesome. So it has fun characters. It has a really good balance. A lot of things, even though it does have a lot of broken things. You kind of spend a pretty good amount of time doing a little bit of everything the game wants you to do. Outside of me getting stuck in the damn Normandy, trying to figure out how to get off of the ship sometimes because it's like, where the fuck's the door at? But most of my complaints are, where the hell is the insert thing I'm trying to find here? And then that's pretty much most of my complaints is like, there's no indicators, there's no map, there's but I'm not going to let that tear it all down for like how interesting everything is, because it's probably also one of the only games I've played in years that I wanted to go through the codex, because I don't like normally like extra side stuff I just kind of ignore because it's like, oh, that it's flavor text, maybe I'll get to it or something. But like in this one, I want to know more about things because it just is super intriguing. And the fact that Mass Effect doesn't have like some Netflix show spin-off already, or like a movie's lined up from like somebody that wants to pick up the franchise, is kind of wild. And I'm not mad that it doesn't exist. I'm kind of glad, honestly.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm like, maybe back in the day I'd agree with you, but like nowadays I'm like, please never touch this series ever.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy that they tried to bring it back with Andromeda and that bombed, and it's disappointing. And I know they want to bring the franchise back with that teaser they released of like Tali and them go into like whatever the hell they're doing and whatever Mass Effect 4 could be. But it's like, I don't want anything else after 3. Just stop doing this.
I agree with you that it takes a lot to sell me on a sci-fi franchise, like a lot. It needs to feel like you need to have cool alien races that aren't just like different colored humans. Big issue I have with fucking stuff like Destiny and shit like that, because there's just the alien races are all stupid. They barely look any different from each other. The only other sci-fi franchise I like for that aspect is Halo. Lots of good alien races. The world needs to feel like, it really feels like they thought this world out like a lot. Like they weren't making it up as they go. Like when they made this game, they wrote all of this lore and stuff down and how the world works beforehand. So they had like this huge playground to play with going forward into the series in the future. And between Halo and this, it's like my two favorite sci-fi franchises. Like I don't like Destiny. And I'm talking about strictly from just like a lore perspective. Destiny annoys me. Like Starfield was really bland. Like sci-fi is just a really hard thing to sell me on, and I think it's really hard for people just to make cool sci-fi stuff, because you can do anything with sci-fi really, but with like fantasy you can always have the fallbacks of like, all right, there's dwarves, there's goblins, there's orcs, like the stock standard stuff, whereas aliens are gonna be that's almost like a horror game in a way. Like you can just do all sorts of crazy shit with alien designs, especially based on whatever world they come from, right? So it's just one of the best things about Mass Effect.
Yeah, I like I said before, I definitely had already experienced this stuff from playing 2, but again, I was very much in love with the whole series to begin with, because like what Udon had just said, it's like they put so much detail and backstory into each individual races that just makes it seem so believable, like it really might actually happen, possibly. You're seeing that they put so much lore into it that just keeps you intrigued as to exactly what they are, because they all act different. They don't have the same emotions. Some are arrogant, some are actually like an asshole the whole time. They got actual personalities to them that are usually forgotten in a lot of games. So it's like you get to actually see things through in a lot more deeper sense than what you would with a lot of things out there. So it's like you're getting a really strong connection with the characters, and the storyline and how everything plays out.
Game fucking crashed.
Fucking
Sorry. That's funny.
But it's-
Sorry, go ahead.
but it's cool to see how things are being played out, that you're going through. You're seeing all this giant galaxy. You're seeing all these different planets, and you're going through a very strong moving pace. Like I said, for me, I would say that it was only a rush for me, because again, I was trying to beat the game in our time. But if it was to be said that I literally took the time and explored everything like I should, this game would be well worth my time and money. I mean, you're getting your money's worth with the game, the lore, how everything is playing out, the side quests, the weaponry, their actual technology, and how everything plays through. Like it's different. It's well thought out. It's not just, I found a bad guy, we're gonna beat the bad guy, save the world, that's it. It's like there's a lot more in depth in how this all plays through, to where you're literally trying to walk through and proving someone guilty, and you're finding this guy's an asshole, but you're seeing the backstory into the individual as to what he's doing, why he's doing it, for the fear of the whole world, trying to stop this thing from taking over. So we play it by its rules, maybe it'll let us live. And it's just really cool. And again, the Reapers, out of a lot of video games, when I see an enemy, like, these things stand out more than anything. When you see like how they talk, it just throws fear into you. You feel like there is no hope. And that is such a very cool and powerful thing that I like in villains. And so, like, when I had that for the second one, where they were just talking in fear that there's a possibility of this thing happening, now I really got to see how Sovereign talked in just being by itself, how confident it was that he was going to be able to kill everything, was just powerful, in my opinion. And like I said, stepping myself away from 2 and 3 and just focusing on just this one, yes, there's a lot of room to grow. Like, the mapping system was extremely painful. I mean, we're doing the fucking icy hot or icy cold, and then hot 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 with the whole thing that Udon was doing to trying to get me direction, because I was just like, I don't know where to fucking go. And so I would just be trying to find my way through a room. It's very massive, it's great, it's pretty, but I'm just like, I really just want to know where I need to go. And again, if I had the time, I would probably be wanting to explore more and see more things, because the galaxies, and you're going to these open planets, they're different. They actually a lot of places to explore. Ones are like deserts, one are freaking like Arctic center areas, and then you got ones that they have these giant worms that you come across that you don't want to intend to fight, but you fight them anyway, and they murder you like very quickly, and it's not fun at all. But you see that there's actual things out there besides just these Geth and people that have worked on the side of the Reaper that you can come in contact as well. So it has a lot of things to give you in just this one game, and that's not even counting the other 2 games that you will eventually end up playing in the future, because it just keeps you captivating. You just want to keep going. So I mean, for me, playing the Legendary Edition really, I would be assuming, helps, because by what I was hearing from Corey's side, it sounded very painful. The shooting thing, like you don't have to aim or something, and I was like, that's not what I have to do. I literally aim, and seem to be having a good time, and it did really good job with the frame rate. Everything was fluid the entire time. There was no choppy action. It was just straight to the point, where I just felt like I was watching a movie, because every cutscene that they had, the graphics are matching with the gameplay, so it doesn't feel like there's this cinematic cutscene. It just like takes you away. You're like, oh god, back to this. But everything flows together, and everybody has a really interesting story to them. So for me, I would say about an 8 myself, because it is really well made game, and the graphics and everything playing through really holds it well together. It's just, I know that there is some growing to do with the other things that came along with it, but again, it does get better in the rest of the series.
Yeah, I would give it an 8 out of 10 as well. Like from the starting point, it's like I was immediately intrigued by just the tutorial part alone. I was like, yeah, I can play this for a while. And then by the end of it, I'm just like, yeah, I understand why this series is so popular and so loved. Like the fact that by the end of it, there's like the way everything was built, the way everything was written, and like all the characters, the way they were designed. Like I'd be surprised. Like this thing was made so well and was so short. Like I'd be surprised. It'd be wasted potential if there wasn't like a sequel or multiple sequels after it. But like obviously, this is the first one, so it would have like some issues with it. Like obviously the lack of direction, and then the shortness of the game in general, and then some just like lackluster side quests of just Mako driving. Yeah, it's an 8 out of 10, but it's just like some personal quarrels and then some quarrels that we can all agree on. But it's just like, yeah, also I did play it twice. The second time around I was immediately annoyed, so I definitely wouldn't be playing this for like a next several years, because it was irritating almost immediately with the very slow talking. So I was like, play it once and then don't play it for a very long while, because the dialogue will immediately get on your nerves, and the fact that you can't skip them. So
you can press. No, you can.
I could not skip anything. I pressed all the buttons. I was just sitting there.
You just have to. I mean, I don't know if you're playing it on, but on Xbox, you just got to press X and you can skip each line of dialogue like individually.
God damn it! I suffer for no reason. So, but yeah, an 8 out of 10. It makes perfect sense why it was so popular.
Wonderful. All right. And that about wraps it up. Probably one of our most positive fucking game of the months, honestly, and I love that we did this. Next game of the month's probably going to be Minecraft, because the movie's coming out, and even though we won't watch that, that's something to look forward to.
Yeah, I'm still wondering how the hell that's going to work.
Well, we don't have to beat it if we don't want to. I'm probably just going to set up a realm and we're just going to play it all month and see what our thoughts are at the end of it. But that'll come next month. So, Jordan, if you want to take us out, go ahead.
All right. Well, thank you again, Udon, for running today's special. It was great. We got a lot of insight in the story, as well as how we all tied together and how we felt about the game. Like we said, it was a very interesting playthrough, and it got us be able to see a lot more in-depth scope of how this game was actually coming together, and it really brought me closer to the series. Like I said before, it sounded negative, but I was saying, like, now I'm gonna have to play 2 and 3 again, and it's not a bad thing at all. It's great. It's so cool to be able to relive something like that. And again, not playing this first one ever and now touching it really made it a lot more stronger. So again, thank you for that. Well, all right, I guess we'll be wrapping it up for today. Don't forget to follow us on Spotify, Twitter, YouTube, and our brand new Rumble channel, so you never miss an episode. Give us the 5-star ratings if you like today's episode, and don't forget to subscribe on our YouTube channel. And for all you gamers out there, just remember to keep exploring, keep playing, keep listening. Until next time, this is the Mediocre Rumble Brothers Podcast signing off. Thanks for listening.
I'm Commander Shepard.
Hey, this is Corey, and thanks for checking out Mediocre Rumble Brothers. If you liked the video, please drop a like, and if you didn't, that's fine too. If you'd like us to talk about any specific games, drop a comment below, or feel free to discuss your experience with the games that we've mentioned in the episode. You can also listen to our episodes prior to YouTube on our Spotify. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you again soon.